That's right. Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
And welcome to the show where we wax poetic about the movies we see on a month to month basis. It's time to crack open our
Movie
movie
Memoirs!
memoirs. All right, Dragon, this might be the most packed show of the year so far, so let's just jump right into it, waste no time. Let's get to the news. A couple pretty significant deaths, unfortunately, came our way this month that we need to commemorate. First one being the late, great George Wendt, a.k.a. Dragon.
Norm!
Yeah, so... I don't know. Like, honestly, Dragon, I didn't really. I should have looked into like if I know him from anything other than Cheers. But obviously, this is a guy where it's like that one role very much encompasses him, and he's just I feel like his presence on that show was just so warm, so inviting. He was just kind of like the guy that everyone wanted to be around, as the norm running gag kind of led. So yeah, definitely will be missed. The Cheers actors are going slowly but surely. What are your overall thoughts?
So it's very sad news, like the definitive sitcom supporting cast member, just so much. Remember, Cheers was like not just a sitcom; it was the sitcom.
I don't know what Cheers is.
I don't know what Cheers is.
yes.
Anyway, but yeah, of course, we all know him from the patented greeting. It's still very fun and charming, and it's just insanely funny. He could slay with a witty line, and his timing, Norm was a hallmark of Cheers. He was a built-in fixture. He was the end of that bar. I remember somebody like reflecting on Cheers briefly. I mean, I remember like all the Vera gags, the unseen wife. Of course, Norm itself, which one of the really funny gags too is like when Cheers went corporate at the beginning of one of the seasons. I think it was like season 6 or something. That's when we got Rebecca Howe. We had this gag where they walked in, like, Woody's trying to keep the Norm bit alive, but, this is like right when the bar kind of had its life, it had kind of its life force kind of drained from it corporately, where they're trying to be like a Bennigan's or something.
Right.
And essentially, it was like Woody's like, oh, no, he's just trying to get everyone to say
it. That's funny.
No, Woody, that's it. I gotta go. It's like, no, Miss Peterson, don't go, no. 2 episodes always stuck with me with Norm. There was this hilarious episode, which really I think showed just the hilarity of George Wendt, which was Norm in his job. He basically was given the task of firing people, and he himself.
Oh, I forgot about that. That's right. Yeah.
So he himself couldn't do it, but he basically came up with this persona of. I love it because it's the name of a modern day comedian to an extent. So it always cracks me up. But Kreischer.
Kreischer, oh my god!
It was either Kreischer or something a lot like Bert Kreischer's name. But point being was like Kreischer, and he's like this loud voice on the other end of the phone. It's always like firing people, and everyone thinks, oh god, it's not Norm who's firing us. It's this horrible, this horrible monster of a guy. And like Norm had like this nightmare where basically he was like in a very oddly happy-go-lucky way. He was like ushering people down an elevator shaft. It was basically of like unemployment, or like kicking them very. So anyway, point being, there's a number of like Norm becoming a painter. There's a number of really lovely moments with George Wendt throughout the series, and I was lucky enough to have a brief encounter with the man one time. Went to a Monster Mania. He was there, and he's done other things. We've seen him pop up in things. Usually, like he popped up in Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I don't know if it was during kind of the down years of Sabrina. I think he was like one of her bosses, in like kind of when we took her out of the high school setting. So point being, he popped up in things, and it's again, the man was a legend. He was our TV pal. That's essentially what he was, you know. And there's like I've been moved. I don't know if you've seen any of this. I have to assume you have because everyone's been seeing this. All these little fan arts and tributes of the man, where essentially it's this really lovely gesture of George Wendt. He goes to the pearly gates and everyone greets him with
Yeah,
Norm.
totally,
And
totally.
like I've seen this, this broke my
Mhm.
heart in all the right ways. There's like a bar that essentially, because Cheers as a set obviously, but there's like a Boston bar somewhere. They have like at the end of the bar, he has like a little picture. It says R.I.P. George Wendt, and there's like a beer of there's like a mug of beer waiting for it by the empty
Aw,
bar stool, which is like, oh my god, that's a prolific image right there.
right. Okay.
God, so he will be missed, and he will get just welcomed in the fabric of the tube.
All right. Kogia says, or Little Blue says, Norm. Kogia says George Wendt was in the first episode of season 4 of
That is
Seinfeld.
no, you're gonna love that, Tiki.
Okay.
That was essentially Seinfeld ended season 3 on a cliffhanger, and season 4 opened with Jerry's going to L.A. for a change, and he's doing like I think he's doing the Tonight Show with Jay Leno. He's doing
Uh-huh.
one of the permutations of the Tonight Show. And basically, George is backstage, kind of chatting up the TV stars of the day. And one of them was George. One of the ideas that George has like such a terrible pitch for, maybe you take it out of the bar for a change. You ever think about that? He's just really just like a stupid. And basically, George went then goes on to do the interview. Says, "Oh man, there's this guy backstage. He pitched me like the stupid. I get these pitches all the time. There's this guy backstage, and George's like in the audience. So it's funny."
All right. Keeper Colby says, I went to Cheers in Boston a few days after George Wendt passed away, and it was absolutely packed celebrating him.
Yeah,
That's
so I think they named a bar after Cheers in Boston. So I don't think it's.
yeah. Okay, so Dragon, let's move on to our second in memoriam. This is a big one. This guy was just frankly a legend of the comic industry. Dragon, I'm going to let you speak to his comic contributions, and then I've got a very, very niche thing that I know him from that I'd like to speak to. So go ahead.
So Peter David, one of the consummate, one of the brilliant writers in his field. This man was a brilliant comics writer. He apparently he battled health issues since 2010. It was like a never-ending string of like health defects. This poor guy. I had no idea because I was in a position once where I could have. There was like a sci-fi convention, but not like a big sci-fi like convention. Believe me, that would have been really interesting. But it's like a they call it like Far Point. It's like this small it's kind of like a smaller version of the Monster Mania. It feels like, but anyway, there's like one opportunity where I could have seen maybe like one time like the paths would have crossed, but I just didn't. I kind of regret it. But the thing is, he still would have been in rough shape, but based on all the
Hmm.
stuff he was dealing with, so I don't know. But this man was a darling of a human being. He proposed to his wife at Disney World. He was sweet. From what I understand, a really sweet guy. He had major contributions. Like you will hear Peter David's name associated with, oh my god, the definitive moment, one of the great unsung runs of these characters. Like that we did like really big, memorable stuff with these characters. Like he did the Incredible Hulk. That was his big claim to fame. He was the one who came up with. I think he was the one who came up with Joe Fixit. Like he brought back the Gray Hulk. That was Peter David. He did also he came up with the backstory of Bruce Banner being abused, having an abusive father, which was the deep root of the anger issues of the Hulk. So that was him as well. He came up with all these really good ideas. He was very much had a definitive run with Supergirl, which I'm sure they're going to be looking at to some degree with that Supergirl movie they have coming up. She-Hulk, but of course the biggest contributions people associate with Peter David, Spider-Man, and more specifically, Spider-Man 2099. That was his baby along with Rick Leonardi.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So just again, he came up with just these ideas that wouldn't struck any number of just really talented writers, and he was just like one in a million. Also, one last one. This is a big one. We don't have the Jason Momoa Aquaman without this guy. We don't have the Aquaman we did the big revamp on Aquaman. We're giving the long hair, the beard, basically the one that's in the Justice League animated show, like the barbarian-esque, kind of like the whole Aquaman with like missing the hand. That was Peter David as well. So just again, he was the king of reinvention in comics. He reinvented and re-energized. He was kind of like the revitalization guy. You need someone to come in like he'll give it some fine tuning, and he had been writing probably to the end it'd be me, I guess. He did like some animated stuff. He of course did. He also did some video games, including Spider-Man: Edge of Time, which had Spider-Man meet 2099 Spider-Man. 2099 Spider-Man was voiced by Christopher Daniel Barnes. It was like a long time since he had voiced Spider-Man, so that was a big deal.
Mm-hmm. All right, so really quick, Dragon, my big exposure with Peter David is a very, very niche thing, but I'm sure, like people have talked about this. Like anytime this gets brought up, people do agree with me on this sentiment. I read the Spider-Man 3 novelization by Peter David like a month before Spider-Man 3 came out, and I got to tell you, Dragon, Peter David put such a compelling spin on the plot of Spider-Man 3 just based on how he wrote the story. Like, for example, I read, like, this man, like, we're talking Dragon, this man was so talented with his art of crafting a narrative that the jazz club scene was genuinely like, oh man, oh Peter, you've gone too far, man. This is bad.
Yes, Peter David, you've gone too far in writing this.
No. You know what I mean. Like, there was no sense of irony. There was no sense of cringe to any of the Black Suit Spider-Man stuff in the novelization. It was all played with a sense of just genuine pathos, and like Peter Parker is seeing what he's becoming, but he's also like very morally conflicted because he's seeing what he's becoming, but he's also like seeing the fruits of, like being who he is as Black Suit Spider-Man. None of that internal conflict is remotely present in the actual movie, Dragon. But I got to tell you, reading that novelization, it was one of the most interesting and unique kind of movie experiences of my life. Just the contrast going into Spider-Man 3 with that novelization in my head and what we actually got from Spider-Man 3. It's just, I think it's a big testament how a tone can make a big difference in the way a story actually comes together. And so that's what I take away from him, which I know is very niche, but I think it's a cool story nonetheless.
No, I've read the novelization of Spider-Man 3 as well, and it was good. It was that's kind of unsurprising. Peter David, he also
right.
He also,
Peter David writes a good Spider-Man story. Water is wet.
Yeah. Also, by the way, he wrote a really good graphic novelization of Stanley's biography. So he's very so many fields, and also niche fields like that, like the whole not only just the graphic, but a comic, but a biographical comic.
Uh-huh. All right. So we have Richard's victims in the comments. Very nice to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. Okay. Little Blue is pointing out we have we're not going to spend much time on them, but Loretta Swit and Valerie Mahaffey. Loretta Swit was in MASH. Dragon, I don't think either of us are that familiar with MASH, so unfortunately, like, it's very much an iconic show. I'm sure she'll be missed for the people that watched it, but Dragon and I just can't really speak to that one on personal experience. Dragon, Valerie Mahaffey, if I'm saying that name right, which I'm probably not, was in Young Sheldon. So do you want to speak to her?
God, I'm just off the top of my head. God, I wish I had put a visual to it.
Okay, I don't mean to put you on the spot.
Yeah, no, I'm absolutely on the spot right now. Thank you for just tallying up the dead people, Little Blue.
Wait, hold on. She was in Desperate Housewives. What character did she play on? Okay, well, Dragon, I don't want to dwell on this. Obviously, we're not that.
Just move on. We're sorry they're dead. Thank you for just putting us on the spot, Little Blue.
But I can speak to this though. Another loss is the long-time composer of The Simpsons, Alf Clausen. I didn't even know that he died. That's
this I did hear about, but I didn't know if you're going to carry it over or not.
Well, all I can say, man, is that's just another sign that The Simpsons just needs to retire at this point. I mean, Dragon, we're going to lose one of those core voice actors, and when we do, I mean, it's like, what are we going to do at that point? Like, I don't know.
have to imagine they have to have thought about this. They have to have a contingency ready in case this happens. I imagine it was like imagine for a show to go on as long as The Simpsons has. You would imagine at some point that break glass in case of emergency. We have pre-recorded the last episode of The Simpsons just in case.
Oh man,
It's all done. It's animated. It's ready. It's in the can. It's like our emergency. Like, okay, if God forbid,
I don't
let's
think
do
that's ever
something
going to
else.
happen, Dragon, because I don't think The Simpsons is ever going to
I
end.
mean, if like God
They're
forbid, I
just
mean,
going to
look,
keep dragging it out. The cast is going to be completely replaced at a certain point. It's just going to go on
look, there's
forever.
there's replacing the cast, but then there's, I mean,
They'll
look,
never
I mean,
stop The
Dan.
Simpsons. Have no fears. We've got stories for years, Dragon.
I mean, seriously, Dan Castellaneta. If anything happens to the man, that's their
Have you
show.
heard Julie Kavner's voice? I mean, God bless the woman, but yeah, Marge
I'm
Simpson
saying.
has totally destroyed her vocal cords.
Anyway,
All right. Okay, so moving on from that news, let's go into. Okay, Dragon, can you speak to the Avengers Doomsday situation?
there's not a lot to tell, but I'll go
Uh-huh.
into it. Basically, for unknown reasons, it has been delayed. Initially I thought it was a lot longer, but it seems to be just collectively. I want to say, like I want to say like 6 months or so. Like basically, it was coming out in May. Avengers Doomsday, I think, was coming out in May, and it's gotten moved to like I think November, December of the same year. So it's not as dramatic as I thought it was going to be. I thought it was like it both got pushed back a whole year, but in conjunction with this, so these movies have been delayed, and three unknown movies have been removed from the slates for those 2 years, for 2026 and 27. So the only thing that we have confirmed that's going to happen after Fantastic Four, we have these Avengers movies, but we also have the new Spider-Man movie, Brand New Day. These are the only things that are like officially still on the slate. Everything else is just kind of like under wraps and again kind of being removed. A lot of people would speculate that Blade is one of these things that maybe just taking off the slate entirely because it's just a train wreck right now.
Sure, sure.
Shang-Chi 2 is a maybe. The ones these were the ones that weren't like 100% officially like announced, but like or at least sorry, not that they're not announced, but they're not like put on the slate. Like they're not officially like on like the big fancy timeline.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to remember what the third one might have been. I mean, again, I don't know if it was I don't think it was a sequel. I think it was I don't know. I mean, there's been talk about
What
another.
about that Star-Lord movie that they were talking about?
I didn't know it was going to be a movie. I thought it was maybe there was talk of the Star Lord series, but again, I
Yeah,
don't really know if how much moss that gathered. I wonder if Shang Chi perhaps would be like taken off the slate or delayed. There's a chance perhaps it's because we're sorting out some Iron Fist stuff with Born Again, maybe. I don't
mm-hmm.
know because again, there's a lot of talk that Shang Chi 2 would feature like the tournament that has Iron Fist in it, which I think would be kind of cool. But we might want to at least establish what the deal with Iron Fist is in the MCU. I don't know. All right. Anyway, so yes, the point being, we're removing movies, presumably Blade, and just things are being things in general are being delayed, and that is, it sounds like they're. My theory is, real quick, my theory on why things are being delayed is because I think they're playing hardball with Spider-Man. I think Sony's playing hardball with Spider-Man. They need him for Secret Wars, and they got to make sure they have their ducks in a row on that because Spider-Man is probably going to be pivotal with the Doctor Doom stuff, for obvious reasons. So I don't. That'd be my. That'd be my speculation as to why we're having delays.
Sure, sure. All right. Colby says Disney moving Avengers is probably the best thing they can do for Disney because it was out like a week after Mandalorian and Grogu, and the parasitism between the two audiences would have been bad for them. I am not convinced that Mandalorian and Grogu is going to make any money. Frankly, we'll see what happens with that, but I'm personally not excited for it after Mando season 3. Okay. Moving on, we've got kind of a nice little note. Michael J. Fox will be guest starring in Shrinking Season 3. So, Dragon, I absolutely should catch up on Shrinking. And yes, I know I need to catch up on the studio. There's a lot of things I need to catch up on. I know. But I'm very excited for this. I think it's really cool. I think that out of anything that Michael J. Fox could be doing, I think Shrinking makes a lot of sense. It's a show where he can very much just be himself. I could see him being a patient with Parkinson's and just fitting very naturally into the show. And so I think it's really cool.
Do you know why this Michael J. Fox thing is really good for Shrinking?
Why?
Okay, so in the show, I think they established this from
Oh
season
yeah,
one.
no, yeah. Doesn't
There's
Harrison Ford's character have
his
Parkinson's?
Yes, his character has
Oh, that's really
Parkinson's. This
cool.
is so
Yeah.
I wonder if he's I assume either he's going to be playing himself or just a guy with the Parkinson's condition. That'll probably be relate in relation to the Harrison Ford
Mhm.
story, to
Mhm.
the Paul's story. Anyway, by the way, so you never watched any of Shrinking, right?
Not yet, no.
I think you're really gonna like Shrinking.
I intend to watch it at some point, but
Yeah,
I
well,
gotta.
second one,
I
that was
still
nice
haven't
and
even fucking seen Andor, dude. Andor season 2. So
hmm,
yeah.
yeah.
Yes, Richard's Victims. I did see the rehearsal. You're gonna have to stick around for the TV section for me to really talk about it, but I did see it. So, and yes, the ending is insane. I'll sign off on that. All right. Next up, Conan O'Brien is starring as a character called Smarty Pants in Toy Story 5. And god damn it, Dragon, all I can say is just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
Did you ever
I mean,
look in?
seriously, like this is like Conan O'Brien in a Toy Story movie. Just for some reason, it just makes too much sense. It just feels perfect.
Did you ever look into that Hot Ones episode, Conan O'Brien?
No, no. Oh my god. Oh, that man is so pale. I
It
bet
was
it.
it was the season finale of whatever thing of Hot Ones they were doing. It was the most epic thing you've ever seen.
Oh my god.
I mean, what
I
he
need to
did.
look
Oh
into
my!
that.
You should have seen what Conan. Like he was basically he was kind of. I don't want to tell you. It's just insane. You have to watch it.
All right, all right. I will check it out.
But yeah, so this is we love Conan O'Brien, so put them in Toy Story. So plus we got all the other comedy greats in there. I think we had Carol Burnett, we had Mel
Mhm.
Brooks, Carl Reiner. I mean, why not Conan O'Brien?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Not sure how much. I mean, I'm hoping that it's going to be a role that's kind of like in the same vein as like a Duke Kaboom, like a significant supporting comedic relief character.
I mean, I'm sure if Conan cracks him up, he'll at least be a running gag, if anything else. So I
Right,
think it's
right.
possible.
All right. And next up, a news item that I personally really wanted to include. We talk a lot about death on the news in memoirs, but Dragon, I think it's a fair time to talk about life because Dick Van Dyke, the legend himself, is officially 100 years old as of, I believe, last week. And I gotta tell you, man, Dick Van Dyke is just like, isn't that man just like life goals personified?
Well, yes, he is.
I mean, just the fact that he is so energetic and full of life and just happy to be alive at that age. I don't know, man. There's just something really inspiring about this that
See,
I
I
just
think he secretly does have. I think he secretly does have like the stone tablet from Night at the Museum that keeps him young and energetic. I think he actually. I think it was it was a real thing they just kind of used as a prop in that movie.
It's like, sure, Dick, we're gonna write it into the movie just so people have probable cause that it's fictional, but we got you. We
Oh,
got
good, good, good.
you. Oh God. I seriously, I know that people are mixed on Mary Poppins Returns, but I loved his role in Mary Poppins Returns, dude. When he gets on the desk and does that tap dance. I mean, oh, just such a class act.
I still love in like night throughout the Night at the Museum movies. The third one, we kind of visit him in like the retirement. The first time we see him again, he was he was essentially the bad guy in the first movie.
Uh-huh.
And it's like an instant, like, oh look, it's our favorite three old guys from Night at the Museum, and he's cutting the rug with like all the ladies in the senior center like love him. It's like it's adorable. Like look at him cut a rug still like in
Oh
his
my God.
there was I think it was right before he might have hit 90, but then like Mary Poppins, he's fully in the 90s. So.
Uh-huh. Yeah, Kogias, glad to see you agree with me on Mary Poppins Returns. I think it's a fucking triumph, but not a lot of people agree with my take on
Emily
it.
Blunt is so good in that movie.
She is. I think it's honestly like what I love about Lin-Manuel Miranda in that movie is that he is genuinely trying to do the bad Cockney accent, and
Mhm.
while it's not good acting on a technical level, I think he nailed the assignment, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Anyways, okay. Moving on. I rarely say this. Oh, hey, Colby also loves Mary Poppins Returns. Awesome.
It's not Colin Firth's
Mary
best.
Poppins Returns, seriously.
It's not Colin Firth's best, but it's not his fault.
Yeah, that he was definitely the weak part for sure. We didn't need a big bad businessman, as Doug Walker would say.
Yeah. You know it would be awesome if they did remake that. If they shot a meme in live action, if you could have Colin Firth be the guy who says, "We've got to have money," you know it'd be the coolest thing ever.
I'm just reminded of the absurdity of fuck. What's the bad guy from Ready Player One? Help me out here. What's
Yeah, the
that?
Ben Mendelsohn character.
Yeah, Mendelsohn. Yeah, the absurdity of his avatar in Ready Player One literally just being big bad businessman.
Sorrento.
Yeah, Sorrento. Yes. All right. Anyways. Okay, let's go rapid fire through some trailers here. Zootopia 2, just to get it out of the way. Not much here, but I don't know. Dragon, you actually, do you want to speak to like the controversy around this trailer? Go ahead.
I don't know if it's controversy. I think I'm the only one who's really had this opinion. I don't know if anyone else has picked up on that. I assume somebody has to have. I'm a little insulted by this teaser, frankly. Because basically, this, if you really look at this at this teaser, you'll notice it's not remotely actually a teaser or a trailer. It's nothing, because it's basically, if you look at the best example I can give you, this is you look at the behind the scenes on like Up or Toy Story 3, you'll see the best example of what I'm talking about here. Where basically this is like the TV spot and kind of trailer bumper that you would see at the end of the trailer, where you see like the characters run.
I would it a lot more if it actually had narration, like the first movie's teaser trailer did.
Well, that's the thing. So like we start like with the white background, we see the characters, which yes is exactly what the first Zootopia teaser was. However, you're right though, Tiki. Again, we had an explanation of anthropomorphism, and at least had like a kind of a title script. Like at least it gave you like a breakdown. There was something, even if it wasn't a lot, there was something there. This, essentially, after all this time, it's like this is their first glimpse at it, and we already know who these characters. We essentially know what the premise of this world is, and all this was like, look at the new characters. Are they going to say anything? No, we don't have them in the budget apparently. It's just this. We're just given like this test animation. That's essentially what it is. Essentially it's the equivalent of a walk cycles, and this is character animation. They're testing out and basically using it as a way of showing, okay, here's what the new characters look like, and it's just really insulting. We get to the end of it and we see like, you know, like the little mysterious hooded character, and there's all this build up, and like there's no story. It's like all that through the character animation test, and we're selling that as a teaser. I'm really insulted. Frank, I'm sorry. I'm incensed that was their first, because I'm looking forward to Zootopia.
I mean, honestly, to me, it's just kind of like just emblematic of Disney's laziness as a whole.
I know that's,
you know, we don't need to try. Essentially, is what it's saying.
Like, I'm trying to be optimistic.
I've been saying about the parks for a long time, but that's an entirely different story.
Like, I'm trying to be optimistic about Disney and stuff. Like, Zootopia is a really good.
I think honestly, I'm past the point of optimism when it comes to.
I know, yeah, you're dead. I know you're dead. You're long dead inside. You're vultures and flies.
I've just switched teams, Dragon. I've switched teams. Team Universal, baby.
Well, regardless, it's
have you heard the good word of Epic Universe, Dragon?
Oh, you mean how no one showed up on day one? Oh, yeah, very, very comforting. Yeah, yeah, they're saved.
Well, fair, people have showed up now, and that day one, the people that did show up on day one.
Yeah, because you know how embarrassing that is. Hey, our park's open, no one's there because they all thought it'd be busy. That's stupid. Anyway.
But the people that were there had the best goddamn theme park day they will ever have in their lives, and I am forever.
It could have been you, Tiki.
I know it could have. I know. Dragon. Originally I wanted to go. Oh God, let's not even talk about it. Oh.
Okay, the point being, just giving us test animation as the teaser was not. It's not a good omen, and it speaks to maybe some bad corporate thinking, which I'm hoping is just me reading into it too much. It just doesn't feel like the best foot to start off on. Maybe a good sequel. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. I honestly don't think Zootopia is the most rewatchable movie. I kind of feel like a lot of it kind of hinges on the plot twists. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Okay, next up on the trailers, we have Peacemaker Season 2. I don't have a ton to say about this, just beyond the fact that, like, I'm excited that we're back. It looks like more James Gunn goodness. Peacemaker has really kind of come into his own as a lovable character. So very excited for this.
Yeah, it's definitely bridging the gap into it's definitely bridging into Justice League and Superman, the stuff that we're kind of seeing from the new Superman movie. It seems like we're going to be tackling the whole Rick Flag Senior versus Peacemaker kind of thing that we've been kind of.
That I'm definitely excited for sure. That's a really cool angle.
I love me some Frank Grillo, and I loved him in Creature Commandos, so
Oh yeah.
I am so looking forward to that. That's my most anticipated part of Peacemaker season 2. See how that all shakes out.
I
They announced.
really feel like we could just get a whole season storyline out of just that conflict.
Oh yeah. So basically, it looks the premise seems to be it's like where we move forward from where season 1 ended, and also again we're trying to kind of ease people into okay. So obviously our continuity and our status quo has kind of changed a little bit between like the new James Gunn just like having such success with Peacemaker and the Suicide Squad is just bridged into a whole like what's his DC universe look like. Um, we have a Rooker in this. We see Rooker is playing, I think, an original character. Yet another one that not because we had Fitzgibbons.
Mm.
Creature Commandos. We have him as a Red Saint Wild, who is an eagle hunter. So you can imagine
Ooh, oh man, oh
yeah,
man,
that's the idea.
that's perfect for him, dude. That's absolutely perfect for him. That's awesome.
And he looks very Native American, but very clearly
Oh,
not a
oh,
Native American character, which I'm sure is
oh,
gonna
I
be a
love
lot
it.
of fun.
Love it.
So the big no, here's the thing we got to talk about with the trailers. One big kind of eye-catching thing in the trailer.
Okay.
The very end of the trailer is a big question. Like we have the pocket dimension thing we set up in season 1, where Peacemaker where Peacemaker's dad kept all the gear.
Right.
Now we showed a second Peacemaker enter. Now the big speculation, the thing gets me excited. I don't know. This might be James Gunn's way of like kind of like a fun explanation for okay, folks, this is James Gunn's explanation for why we have the Suicide Squad movie and Peacemaker also existing within, which is part of the old DC EU, and this whole and basically where we're going forward. It's always been loosey goosey, but the fact there might be like kind of a simple multiversal explanation built into this show, that's really exciting to me. It's like, oh my god, he's really thought about this. I mean, it's a throwaway. We don't need this explained, but showing it like with the two Peacemakers and old Peacemaker season 2, I don't know. That's kind of cool.
Totally. Totally.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right. Next up, we have Spider-Man Noir. I mean, I don't really know what to. It looks cool. I'm still a little bit perplexed that they didn't just animate it. I don't know. Like honestly, Dragon, as you'll see with one of the movies that we're highlighting this month, you can guess which one. I'm kind of on a little bit of a Nicolas Cage kick, but
You know.
I mean, this looks fun. I think it kind of like runs the risk of being a little bit style over substance. I don't know. I'll definitely check it out, but I think it all kind of just depends on how good the actual writing is. Honestly, if it's going to be anything more than just kind of like a style experiment.
I mean, look, it's in black and white. Everything looks on the money. I wonder if there's going to be a direct link to saying that he is the Spider-Man Noir that was in Spider-Verse, but we're just seeing
Right,
his
right.
adventures in live action. I'm kind of hoping they're going that way. See, basically, this show. I think the main reason it's a live action take is this is like the loophole for the whole Spider-Man on TV thing, where we can't put him in the MCU, and we can't do him in a long form animation. So it's just kind of like it's this weird like legalese loophole with the whole Sony agreement. I don't know how it ends up on Amazon in the first place, frankly, but I don't. I'm not complaining about it. Whatever gets us out, like Sony's out from under Sony's boot and actually puts a Spider-Man in a show or in a
I know,
byproduct.
right?
Okay, look, we just have a Spider-Man. Period. Okay, I'll take the win. Okay, it's not any numerous like Spider-Man villains or like all this stuff we've been just kind of been slammed with left and right. Like Spider-Man movies without Spider-Man, and at least it's a Spider-Man thing with a Spider-Man in it.
Isn't it sad that we've gotten to the point where that's actually like an achievement?
I know it's just I'm in disbelief that it's
It's
just
a
gotten.
Spider-Man project that actually has Spider-Man in it. Holy shit.
The fact it's still insulting to me the fact that we had a Craven movie and there's no Spider-Man.
Oh, I know, and that's why Dragon, as you know, Craven the Hunter, one of my favorite villains from the comics, and I do not intend on seeing that movie
Yep,
specifically because of that.
yep. All
All
right.
right. Okay, next on the docket, we got The Long Walk, which I specifically pointed out to you. Honestly, Dragon, this basically just looks like a Hunger Games ripoff. I'm not gonna lie. It's very dystopian. It's very much like, okay, we've got this big event, and most people that participate in it forcibly by the government are probably gonna die. I will say though, there like I am more intrigued by the overall premise just as someone who does go on a lot of long like 10-mile hikes and stuff. Like I am kind of intrigued just to see how this plays out. But then of course we've got Mark Hamill in a villainous role, and how the fuck can we say no to that, Dragon?
Yeah, I co-signed live action Mark Hamill any day of the week. Frankly,
He's
I'm
having a moment between this and Life of Chuck.
that's what I'm saying. I'm desperate for Mark Hamill to get more like live action material. Nothing. Obviously, look, I'm perfectly content with his animated roles, which is the fact that everyone kind of underwrites him because of that, because he's done so much, in voiceover. It just feels like, yeah, show the man can act. He's more than Luke Skywalker on the big screen, folks. We can do cool things with him.
Hmm.
It very much feels like, honestly, it's kind of vaguely like this beat from Hunter x Hunter. Where basically they had to, they all had to kind of jog for a really long time. It was like part of the trials in the very first
Right,
season.
right,
So it's a
right.
little
Yeah.
like that. It's kind of like that with also it's kind of speed on a budget.
It is speed on a budget. Oh
You
my
know, which is even funnier given it's
god.
it's speed on a budget. It's even
That's a
funnier.
really, really stupid way to put it, but it's not entirely inaccurate either.
I think what I really like about it is the fact that in the Trickster episode from the CW Flash, when Mark Hamill's Trickster showed up, he was a huge fan of Speed the movie, where he's like, Sandra Bullock, Keanu Reeves, run 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 run. It's funny.
Oh man. All right. So moving on, we're making good time here with the trailers. Nobody 2. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit more optimistic about like I liked the first Nobody well enough, but I did think it essentially was just like, okay, we're gonna plug Saul Goodman into this action. What I like about Nobody 2 is that I I like the more personal motivation here with, like the Coney Island jerks essentially harassing the daughter and that being like the big catalyst. That's like very relatable. But then I also just like the vacation element. I love the use of Holiday Road on the trailer. So I don't know. For a movie that I was kind of on the fence of, like, I don't know if I need to see Nobody 2. I wasn't really crazy about the first one. I know that you like it a lot more than I do. I'm definitely going to see this one because of the trailer. The trailer definitely kind of hooked me in.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for Nobody, man. I love the first one. There was always, again, Nobody seemed like a really good one and done movie, but there was like a little post credit kind of tease, like, well, it'd be nice to do another one. I highly doubted we were going to get one, so I was really shocked that it got approved. And I mean, it was, in regards to what the sequel would be, basically seems like, okay, we're kind of leaning into, like, it doesn't seem like it's going to. I haven't seen the movie yet, obviously, but I have a feeling it's not going to be like a direct, like, the post credit scenes plays exactly into the movie, but I think the idea we tease like a road movie kind of gag, it feels like, oh, you're
Mhm,
doing a
mhm.
road movie for the whole sequel. It's kind of good. So this whole vacation esque, road movie, with the family, I think it's a lot. It looks like a lot of fun. I'm so sold. It probably won't top the original for me. I don't know, but it looks so fun though. There's no nothing that's going to keep me away from this movie. I love it.
All right. Really quick, Kogias says the Craven film is really good. Richard
Lies.
Jacobs is like, Kogias, please stop. You were doing so good with the Mary Poppins cake,
Richard's victims. I missed you so much. Thank you for.
Little Blue says, and I'm sorry, Code Chaos, we don't mean to dogpile on you. You don't like Zootopia, but you like Craven the Hunter? Richard's Victims, or I'm sorry, Code Chaos, if it makes you feel any better, Grace Randolph from Beyond the Trailers also likes Craven the Hunter. She says, and I quote, "It's a pretty good movie, guys." Sure, Grace. Sure, Grace. All right. Is okay. I'm not even. Also, Little Blue, Eli, you have not seen Mary Poppins Returns, bro? It's easily one of my favorite live action Disney movies of the past like 10 years or so. I think it's a gem. I'd definitely be curious to hear your thoughts on it. Okay, moving on. We have Del fucking Toro Frankenstein Dragon. Oh, oh, oh.
You've been watching too much Pacino lately.
I am so all over this, Dragon. This is just okay. There's so many reasons I'm excited about this thing. Number one, it feels like the type of Guillermo del Toro project that was just bound to not happen, and it's fucking happening, and I am stoked. I did just read the novel last year, and I gotta tell you, man, visually speaking, I love how this is not Boris Karloff Frankenstein at all, in the slightest. I love how this is very, very authentically Mary Shelley Frankenstein. And the other big thing that has me excited about this, and granted, I know that, Dark Universe and Epic Universe is more based on the Boris Karloff Frankenstein, but I am obviously in Universal Monster mode with my Epic Universe hype. So, I'm bouncing off the walls for this one, man. I don't want it to be a repeat of Nosferatu, where it's like, I really, really like Nosferatu. I ended up not really loving it as much as I wanted to. I think it's technically impressive. I don't think I'm going to have that sense with Frankenstein, just because Nosferatu essentially is just Dracula by a different name, right? Whereas the novel of Frankenstein, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, Dragon, it's an entirely different beast from the the Boris Karloff version. It's an entirely different beast. So, yeah, I'm hyped. I'm hyped. What do you think?
Del Toro's been wanting to make this one for a long time because you can see in his work he loves Frankenstein. He's always wanted to kind of adapt it in some way, shape, or form. So this is a big moment for him. The only thing I have, and this is not a thing that will turn me off to the movie, but it just makes me wonder. We see some action in the trailer, and I wonder if that maybe indicates Netflix. Well, I don't know if Netflix was purely the one who approved it, or just ended up going to Netflix. So I don't know how involved. Del Toro has had a good working relationship with Netflix.
I am bummed with the Netflix thing. I'm not going to lie. I did get to see Pinocchio in theater, so I'm hoping that this will at least have a limited theatrical run.
Well, what I'm getting at is, from what I understand, Del Toro had a really good relationship with Netflix on Pinocchio, so that makes me think that it is like there is very much like this is a Netflix production, but again, a feature Netflix production. Like we've had, sometimes they've done Oscar buzz. I'm not saying it's going to get that, but you know what I mean. It's like very much Netflix, not just kind of doing like the direct, like the TV movie approach.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if there's going to be an action mandate, which I'm not going to mind because as the kid in me always wants to see Frankenstein in action movie capacity. But I just wonder if, per the, like for example, like he's got to climb up the, the lightning rod to put it on there. I hope that's not like a drawn out sequence, that kind of
thing. Right.
And that, and of course,
I said, just visually speaking, like everything looks very authentic to what I remember from the book. So
my favorite detail,
they might be including some action set pieces just for the sake of action set pieces, and
it's not a deal breaker. It's just I just wonder if like Del Toro's gonna be happy with those choices or not. I have to assume he is because I don't think Netflix is gonna have the stones to say no, Guillermo.
Right.
Anyway, but my favorite little detail, this feels like such a Del Toro detail. I don't know if it's from the book. Maybe you can illuminate me, but the red gloves.
Oh, I don't remember specifically. But
I love that. I love that visual touch. It's like they pops in every scene.
That might be from the book. I don't directly remember it.
Either way, it's adapted or not, I just love how those red gloves are just popping in this trailer. Like we're emphasizing the reds and whites, but you never associate with Frankenstein. It's a very Dracula kind of color scheme. I don't know. I think it's a neat idea.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I'm so looking forward to this too, man.
All right, next up, our last one. This is so fucking stupid. Dexter Resurrection. Dragon, I'm not gonna lie. Obviously, We are to the point where the Dexter franchise is a joke, right? Like there is no dramatic fucking like dignity to be had with this fucking junk at this point. That being said, I am not gonna lie, Dragon. This looks like some fucking fun junk food.
It does look. Oh, that's a look. Obviously, look, I really liked. I liked New Blood, and I thought New Blood had a good thing. Some people really hate the end of New Blood. I
This is
liked it.
pissing away.
Yeah.
Like this is basically
Absolutely.
Like, yeah, the ending of New Blood didn't
Yeah.
happen. Essentially,
So that's the thing. Look, it's just it's a Dexter. Here's the thing. Here's ultimately what we're saying with the Dexter franchise. Dexter is cursed with life, as in he's a character all about death, and yet he's cursed with life. Is that we can never kill this guy.
mm-hmm.
You know, and again, because he's so watchable, and like for again, he's like everyone loves Dexter, and it's the lifeblood of Showtime that has bled over in the Paramount now. So because of that, it's like it's death proof. I just it's tacked on as all get out, but it looks cool to me. It looks kind of fun, you know. It just looks.
I mean, we got Dinklage, man. How can you say no to Dinklage?
So
as
that's
a serial killer fanboy.
Just to show you
mean,
how
that
around
premise alone. Again, it's not like the potential of Clancy Brown actually being a genuinely like chilling Dexter villain in the vein of of Lithgow. It's not that potential at all, but it's got potential for campy fun for days, I think. So yeah.
So Tiki, this just to show you how around the bend we are with Dexter at this point. Okay. This season seems to be very guest star driven, as we see with a lot of our talent, like Dinklage and Kirsten Ritter, and Uma Thurman, the whole lot. So with this whole idea of Dexter basically joining like essentially a convention of serial killers in New York,
it's
like a collection of serial killers. It feels a lot like You, which You essentially is it.
Yeah. Oh shit! Hello.
Yeah. So it's very much like You. Like, hello, Tiki. Hello.
Yeah.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can, but we're kind of having a little bit of a delay.
But yes. Are you sure there's a delay?
I'm gonna go out and come back in and see if that helps things. All right.
Okay.
All right.
Sorry about that, folks. Bear with us. I'm just going to read some comments here. Look, man, I'm fine with Dexter turning into this super campy nonsense. That's more interested in. I'm just more interested in pure entertainment, nothing else. Dexter turned around with a smile with his new black kill uniform and asked, like, what do you think? I was like, okay. I see you, Showtime. I get it.
Okay.
Right. I was just shouting at Richard Victim's comment here. It was really clever.
This one?
Well, that and then the one under it, but yeah.
And Dexter turned around with a smile and asked, what do you think? I was like, okay, Showtime. No, honestly, that moment right there is kind of what really sold me. I'm like, okay, this is going to be campy as hell, and I'm kind of here for it.
So this is what I'm getting at, Tiki.
I mean, I have way more interest in watching this than I do the fucking Dexter family values, whatever the fuck the last one was.
Original Sin.
Like,
well, I don't like
remember the couple episodes of season 2 that you really liked? Let's do a whole fucking season just going over that information again.
All right, okay, look. What I was getting at is like it's kind of so around the bend. It's kind of like the show You, which You is basically inspired by Dexter, at least in my book. So it's just kind of funny that we're at a point where you have like a hokey premise like we would see on You or late seasons of You now with Dexter. But again, to its credit, in a premise that shouldn't exist, and we don't need it all remotely. One, better than Original Sin. Original Sin is just like, let's go back and do the thing we already saw in the first season of Dexter, but drag it out. Here, look, it's kind of like it's a kind of a fun what if premise. Like, okay, so if he survived this is what might happen. Which everyone and their mother is like, it's like Showtime saying, well, let's give the people what they want. They want them to not be dead. Here's what it looks like. It's so I can't. It's kind of like the audience is creating the need. The audience won't let them die because they keep complaining about the endings, and that's why we keep getting this.
Indeed.
But Harrison and Batista coming back. That and James Remar, and apparently all the other killers are going to pop up. It's Jimmy Smits. He's supposed to show up, and John
He's Princess Leia's not biological father.
Yes. He'll show up for this, but not another show. Anyway, I'm more compelled to watch this, even just out of morbid curiosity, than I am Original Sin. Original Sin, I have no interest in. This, at least, he's back, and it's kind of fun.
Okay. Colby says, no love for Wake Up Dead Man and Knives Out Mystery. I did not know that trailer was out.
I didn't know the trailer was released either. Otherwise,
I apologize, Colby. That flew under our radar, apparently. If it's interesting enough, we'll probably talk about it next month. Yep. Okay, with that in mind, let's get to a rather stacked. Let me edit that to say May 2025 movies. Dragon, why don't we start with Thunderbolts Asterix?
Yes.
For me, I was buzzing about it when I first saw it, Dragon. I'm not gonna lie. I really did think that it was probably the best thing from the MCU besides I'm Sorry, Code Geass, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which for me is a triumph. And honestly, I still probably think that is probably the case. But that being said, it's just like, it's kind of a low bar. Like, I give this movie like a solid like 7.5, maybe 8 out of 10 if I'm being really generous. But I still think it's got some really good qualities to it. I mean, it's like, at this point, I think Sebastian Stan, it's fair to say, is one of the MCUs of what we have. One of the MVPs of what we have left of the MCU.
The MCUs of the MCU.
Red Guardian, I think, is a lot less annoying and Russian stereotype than he came off in the trailer. I think he's actually like genuinely kind of the heart of the movie, which is cool to see. I love me some John Walker. John Walker has some really compelling stuff. And Dragon, this is going to sound like a crazy take, but for me, I honestly don't think Florence Pugh did much for me in the lead role here. I think she's good. I just think a lot of the other characters around her were more dynamic. Like, it's kind of weird to see her play the straight man. I'm not used to that with her. And I also, I'm mixed on Sentry. I really am. I think the character of Bob himself is fine. I think he's there's a little bit of emotional manipulation with the bond between him and Yelena that I thought was just a little surface level. I'm not crazy about the fact that we have yet another, hey guys, look, it's the strongest character in the universe. I think Julia Louis-Dreyfus, I've never really cared for her in this role, but this is definitely the best that her character's been so far, which obviously makes sense because it's kind of her movie. And I do genuinely love the ending. I think the ending is one of the best endings that we've gotten in a MCU movie in a while. Granted, the Guardians of the Galaxy endings are all triumphs, but this is one of the better ones in regards to non-Guardians of the Galaxy endings. So, yeah, overall, I think it's really good. I just think that at this point, the best we're going to get from the MCU is just really good. I kind of think we're past the point of anything from the MCU being a real masterpiece. And I'm kind of okay with that. But at the same time, I definitely kind of feel like, it's good that this is the best thing that we've gotten from the MCU in a while, but I still don't think it's great per se. Does that make sense?
No, it does. Look, at the end of the day with Thunderbolts, I was hyped going into because I really like Jake Schreier. I was really thrilled that he got a Marvel movie, let alone the Thunderbolts, which, again, just the idea that it was we're paying off all the setup from the Disney Plus shows. And also we're throwing Bucky in for good measure. I love me some Red Guardians. There's a lot of elements that I think coming together this movie that really kind of had me okay, I'm sold now. I've been the trailer and the marketing and all that. I'm just so pleased the movie is doing so well, and Jake Schreier being a quality director, he deserves the success that he's been getting from this. A lot of people, like, for the sounds of things, they're trying to give him X-Men, which might be yet another reason for the delays. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
Things being removed from the slates. Um, I thought they're they're an enjoyable band of misfits. It's an enjoyable band of misfits movie, which again, as we've seen with Guardians, it's a popular commodity in the MCU. The MCU excels at that sort of thing. Look, I'm going to be clear. I wasn't blown away with this, but I enjoyed it. I did. I love me Red Guardian, Bucky, and their dynamic together, like we kind of teased in What If. So seeing them actually together, that's a lot of fun. The struggle that I have with this movie is the Sentry because, well, I mean, here's the thing. I will say this is the best we're going to adapt him. This is the best we possibly could have adapted him in the MCU. But that said, I've never liked the Sentry. I still don't like the Sentry because even as we demonstrate very well in this movie, again, we did a good job in adapting him, but still, it's like the problem of this character is now in the MCU of like we saw in one glorious scene why we can't have this guy in the universe because he breaks the universe. He makes everything boring when he shows up. It's like, he's like the kid with plot armor when you're playing superheroes on the playground. It's like, okay, well, there's no fun to play with this guy.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
And then we have where do we go from there? Okay, well, we've done everything we can with the Sentry. We show that he's cool. We represent him pretty flawlessly.
I don't like the fact that he's just hanging out at the end. I agree with you there.
Well, we have that, and then we have the whole Void thing, and the Void thing is like, it's like, look, the only thing that would have made this worse for me with the Sentry is if he ripped people in half in the movie, which thankfully he didn't do. But it's like, it's like, hey, he's also this really, really powerful, really destructive thing. And you're right, he's just hanging around at the end. It's like, oh boy, this is, again, but they adapted him. They adapted a character I don't think really fits the Marvel vibe, but okay.
Right.
Anyway, so aside from him breaking the universe, the twist in the movie, it's impressive. I'm impressed they were on board with such a reveal, given knowing the delayed monetary success they would have with that. Which again, there was a delay in like the money they were making because now everyone's rewatching the movie. Or anyone who didn't see the movie is now seeing the movie because of that reveal. So I can respect that from a marketing thing. That feels like a very Jake Schreier's like, look, I just want to make the movie I want to make, and I want the MCU to really overwrite.
Well, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the Split being a surprise, a surprise sequel to Unbreakable thing.
Exactly, and that's the thing where you gotta remember a lot of these directors have always bumped up against, even going back to like the first three phases of it all. A lot of the directors, I want to say phase 2 onward. Phase 2, it's always been this thing of like, the directors, like going to Thor 2, they had different directors on that movie, but then Marvel wants to really lay out like, hey, we want to build to the movies that are going to be coming down the line, so we have to get that in there, but you're kind of getting in the way of the movie I want to make, or the vision that I have, and that kind of scares a lot of people off. But this was kind of a fun way around it, where, okay, this is not going to get in the way of what you're doing, but at the very end, ... So, yeah.
Alrighty. Okay, let's see. Next up, we've got Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. Sweet Jesus, Dragon. I mean, I've really liked the last couple Mission Impossible movies. I thought Fallout was really fun. Fallout had Henry Cavill as a genuinely really good kind of burly man villain. I really like Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning just because, frankly, the plot was simple. It's like Tom Cruise needs to get the key. That's the whole plot of that movie. Dragon, holy shit. Once Tom Cruise gets the key, things somehow get so much more convoluted. This movie has one of the most nonsensically fucking confusing and convoluted plots for an action movie I have ever seen in my goddamn life. And it was a chore to sit through. This is 3 hours of just bullshit spy shenanigans that are essentially just designed. I don't care, Colby. I don't care. That's fine. You can have your opinion. I'm sticking with this one. I mean, I don't care. I don't care. I think you have a bad take, my friend. I think you have a bad take. Um, no, Colby, the first half hour of this movie is a fucking mess. It's an extended previously on Mission Impossible segment with terrible fucking editing. This movie is just Dragon. I will say the stunt work in this movie is definitely impressive, for sure. That's the one thing you can absolutely take away from it. Other than that, the characters don't feel like characters. Um, so feel free to lay the hot takes out for me. Yeah, the characters don't feel like characters. They feel like chess pieces. They feel like plot devices. I mean, they bring back stuff from like movies in this franchise that are like over 20 years old, and I'm just like, guys, this is not the franchise to do this shit with. Like, we don't care about the random other spy who was in the vault in the first Mission Impossible. Like, nobody fucking cares. This one is baffling to me, Dragon. The plane scene where Tom Cruise is holding onto the plane and trying to get to the villain on the other plane.
Suicide attempt number like 7 or
right. That scene is genuinely impressive. That scene is genuinely thrilling. There's a scene where Tom Cruise is swimming around a submarine that's really impressive just from the perspective of, wow, look how Tom Cruise can swim. He sure can swim good, that Tom Cruise. Other than that, Dragon, this movie's empty as fuck, frankly. I really did not like it. So I'm sorry, guys, but the Mission Impossible movies have never really been for me. I'm not an action movie guy when it's just meat and potatoes, like spy espionage action. But like I said, I did get into the last two ones for sure. I did really get into Fallout. I especially got into Dead Reckoning Part 1. So this was just a big step down for me, unfortunately. All right. So next up we've got Nunes.
Nunes. There's kind of a few ways to pronounce this. I mean, technically, I think the real pronunciation is Nonas, but in the movie they say Nunes. So it's Italian for grandmother.
Okay.
So, well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like no, yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's Nona, and there's No, I'm saying, no, you're right. That's the pronunciation. I don't know. In the movie, it sounds like they're saying Nonas. I mean, if you watch it, you can be
wrong. Then if it's
I know.
I think an Italian family, Dragon. I'm sorry.
I know. Tiki, I'm aware of this. I know. It's I don't know if I just heard it for some reason. I heard it wrong in the movie or not. You can watch it and be the judge and tell me if they're saying it right or not. Because I know it's you're right. It's Nonas in the real world. In the movie world, I don't know. Anyway, I love this. Pronunciations tabled to the side for now. I love this movie. This was a highlight of the month for me, man.
Where can I find this movie, Dragon?
It's on Netflix, Dick. You gotta watch it you gotta watch this like yesterday, man. This was so good. You would love this. It's a delightful little biopic with a fantastic cast. This is as comfort a watch as you're gonna. It's a comfort watch with a savory flavor. And it was perfect for Mother's. This was a Mother's Day movie.
Nice.
So basically, I'll tell you, man, from the beginning, you will be moved by this movie. It's like opens with the most lovely Italian flashback you've ever seen. You know, like basically kind of we go with Little Italy in the movie, but I don't know if we're there in the opening or not. We might be. So it's kind of like the Little Italy section of New York. But it's great. So basically, there's like charm for days from the get. You see like this again. Vince Vaughn is our main character. He plays Joe. And basically, the idea is we see, kind of as the family came from essentially his mother and his grandmother, his Nonna. And it's just very, very loving. They cooked, and it was like this really, they connected through food with his mother, and it was really beautiful. And he loses them, and they basically the whole movie. The premise of the movie is, his mother has just passed, and he's kind of.
Ask me how the grandma got killed.
How did the grandma get killed?
Because singing killed my grandma. Okay. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. Go ahead. Go ahead. And that, my friends, is what we call an internet meme. Go ahead, Dragon. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
see, I thought I was connecting here, but I just,
No, just random DreamWorks fucking trolls reference.
yes, I thought for a moment I was actually breaking through to the through the husk
Hey,
of
I
my.
am going to check this movie out. Don't worry, I will.
Okay, the point being, it's basically it's about a guy who's just lost his mother, and he's really much kind of going through the grieving process. And yeah, look, I saw a lot of myself in this guy. I really did. I really like. It's kind of a guy looking through meaning and kind of connection through the loss. Joe Manganiello's in this, Tiki. If you need
Oh,
any
nice.
more reason to watch this, and he's delightful. So there's a great cast in this. You have Joe Manganiello, you got Susan Sarandon, Lorraine Bracco, Talia Shire,
Top tier
Brenda
cast for sure.
Brenda Vaccaro, and Di Matteo from The Sopranos.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's really tight knit. It's again, it's basically it's the story of starting a small business because in Staten Island at New York, there I believe it's still open, just based on the kind of the post credit kind of thing. Enoteca Maria. It's this Italian restaurant that essentially the whole premise is like Joe opens a restaurant to kind of capture what he had with his mother and his grandmother, and he calls it's basically all the chefs at the restaurant are nonnas, but they're nonnas. So I'm pronouncing it like it is in the movie by accident there, but yes. Um, but Tiki, this was like the delight of the month. It was the pleasant surprise. I went into this now and like, well, I mean, I'll watch it for Vince Vaughn because I like him. It seems kind of cute. At the very least, it'll be Vince Vaughn being charming for maybe like an hour or so. But it was like, oh my god, I didn't expect it to be this good. It was really good.
Nice, nice.
Yeah. All
All
right.
right. Also, it's number 11 on Kogias's, or I'm sorry, on Peregron's rankings for the month. So he does not seem to have liked it as much as
Well,
you
he
did.
sees like how many movies did he see this month?
It was number 11 out of 16. So,
Oh well, great. Just the one time he lowers the number counts. The one time.
all right. Okay, let's see. Next up for me, we've got The Surfer. So here's the deal with this movie. I fucking love it. I really do.
Yeah.
This like basically Dragon Nick Cage plays like his character doesn't even have a name. He's literally like the movie starts and the title card is literally just Nicolas Cage as the Surfer. And essentially he's going back to the beach in Australia that he grew up on. He has just these very, very formative childhood memories of surfing this beach as a kid. And we find out through kind of scattered flashbacks that his father drowned on this beach, and that's why he moved to the States when he was a kid. He's basically spent his whole life trying to get back to this beach. He's in the process of trying to buy a house that looks out over the beach. So the movie starts, he's taking his kid to see the beach. And Dragon, the local culture is very much just like, you don't live here, you don't surf here. And they antagonize the hell out of him. But Dragon, if Nicolas Cage has taught us anything, it's that he is a tenacious man and he is not giving up on his fucking surf spot. And that's the whole movie. The whole movie basically takes place in a cliffside beach parking lot. We only go to the actual beach for maybe like 20 minutes out of the 100-minute runtime. I swear to God, we get so much mileage out of like a little Java hut, like a dinky public bathroom, and like some gravel parking spaces. But it's so compelling because essentially what the movie is Nicolas Cage kind of slowly unraveling. So, like he starts out with, basically is like the big businessman, and he's got this watch. He's loaded. He drives a Lexus, and throughout the movie, as he keeps staying on this beach, like at first the local riffraff steal his surfboard, which is very much a big like, well, shit, I can't leave now because now it's personal. I got to get my surfboard back. He tries to contact the cops about the surfboard. The cops, basically gaslight him and be like, "Oh, that surfboard that's hanging up at their, at their little beach shack. Yeah, that's been there the whole time. That's been there for like 10 years. You are the one that's lying." it's clear that everyone involved in this little like beach community is kind of part of this cult, if you will. But it doesn't really get too into the cult element, Dragon. It's more so just like almost kind of like a beach mafia, if you will, if that makes sense. The main leader is very much like kind of the type of person where it's like, well, he has helped out so much with this community. He's put so much money into this community. He's given so many people in this community jobs. So he deserves to like let off some steam. And everyone just kind of turns their back on how much of like just like a troublemaking riffraff this group of surfers actually is, led by Julian McMahon, of all people, of Doctor Doom fame, of course.
Yep.
And Julian McMahon, Dragon, he turns in a hell of a villain role. Like, he's way more menacing here than he ever was as Doctor Doom. I don't know, man. This probably isn't going to be your type of movie, but I will say there is absolutely an Albuquerque verse quality to it, and specifically this feels like an Albuquerque verse bottle episode in the form of a movie in the best way. So I honestly don't know how you would feel about it, Dragon. I honestly think if I were to guess, it'd probably be a little bit too esoteric and artistic and A24 for your tastes. But like I said, there is that Albuquerque verse quality that I think you would appreciate with it. So I would give it a shot if you have access to it. It's not a movie for everyone, but god damn it, it worked so well for me. It's a movie that feels like it was specifically made for me. So easily a highlight of the month for me, a highlight of the year so far for me. All right. Okay. Next up, we have A Deadly American Marriage. Oh boy, more Netflix true crime.
Yeah.
I feel like at this point, their titles are just like fucking word salad of like murder, American, deadly. Like we're just playing Mad Libs with the titles at this point.
Yeah, you're not far off. Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
So I mean, look, this is it's an interesting true crime doc. It's basically the premise. The premise is solid. It didn't quite click with me, but I mean, this again, it wasn't like the usual like we kind of like we look take a pervasive look into a serial killer and that kind of. It's not that usual. It's not that kind of thing. This is So you have an Irishman, Jason Corbett or Corbett. I think it's Corbett.
I think it's Corbett. I think you're right.
Anyway, so Jason Corbett, he's killed by his wife and his father-in-law, who's an ex-FBI agent, and it's ambiguously self-defense. Now, again, I'm sure people probably take very pointed kind of standpoints on like who's really at fault here, but essentially. There's like motive around the block in terms of like, so Molly is the wife, and Molly basically says, he was abusive. The kids, however, this is where things get interesting. The kids say he never laid a hand on us. It was we saw no issues. Like they're very now. I don't recall. I can't recall that he was married before. I don't know if the kids. I think the kids were from the previous marriage. I think. Now I don't know if this Molly. The current wife was the kid's mother or not. It sounds like they might have been. That's why I'm unsure. Regardless, the kids, one way or another, these are young. Essentially, they were younger when that happened. They were young kids when it happened. They were, very much like, she just murdered our father, and we liked our father. This is, there's a lot of schism that's going on there. Mm-hmm. And mom essentially was, as far as they recount, mom was emotionally manipulative and essentially a pathological liar. Like she would basically like no matter, even though it's just casual yes or no about dad, it was like you don't want to be around me, do you? That kind of thing. So and there apparently we get into a little bit of the trial and like all the interviews of the kids and stuff. And so I mean that's the interesting part about this, just seeing like where the truth lies in this, because apparently there was a recording. Like an audio recording that wasn't admissible in court, where essentially you hear the husband, Corbett, he was verbally abusive towards the wife, not the kids though, just the wife. It didn't seem like the nicest of guys, but again, that's really all they have to go off of. And it's such a messed up situation with, a few twists and turns in the narrative. But again, it's this legal, from a legal standpoint, it's just really. I don't know. It's just this really kind of messy affair where essentially the charges get dropped, and the at some point the charges get dropped and like they kind of plead out, but it's like this thing of like the kids are just really unhappy with this situation. It's really ambiguous of like, is it a good thing these charges are getting dropped, or is it a bad thing? And I think that's what kind of, it doesn't really take a clear perspective. In this case, it feels like we kind of needed to, but we didn't.
Sure, sure.
Look, it's not a strong recommend. I'm just saying that I watched it. All right, so it's
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I wouldn't
That's
say like
interesting enough. I probably won't check it out, but it sounds interesting enough.
yeah. I mean, I'll give it credit where credit's due. They're not using the. I like it when they can change up the formula on the Netflix true crime doc. I'll give them that. But like this, I walked in on this. My folks were like, I visited,
Oh, really?
my folks, and they were watching this. I was like, oh, what's this? And like, okay, I might give that a watch. And apparently, I may have just came in during an interesting part of it, but not.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
All right. God damn, I'm looking at the TV stuff and I feel bad. I didn't realize that you have so much more stuff than I do on the TV front.
Natalie, I was hoping you might have made progress on one of those things on that list.
Yeah, unfortunately. But I kind of feel like anyways. Okay, I'm sorry. That was super distracting. No, Dragon. Oh, yeah, you have it listed there. You have it listed there. Okay.
There you go.
So speaking of that, friendship. So Dragon, this I did not really know this. When I walked into this movie, I knew that I Think You Should Leave was a thing. I vaguely knew about it. I knew that Tim Robinson had a sketch show on Netflix. I didn't really know much about it. And essentially, this movie is basically like a more twisted version. Essentially, Dragon, the best way I can put this is it's like the Cable Guy mixed with I Love You Man. The first half of this movie is kind of like a friendship of the ages. But then the second half, Tim Robinson, like I will say that Paul Rudd, this might be one of Paul Rudd's all-time best performances because he does not feel like Paul Rudd in this movie. He definitely that mustache and that and that bad haircut go a long way to transform him in this movie. Paul Rudd plays a weatherman essentially, and Tim Robinson is just like he's like a marketing executive at an app company that's essentially like a soulless company that's literally like trying to like milk their customers for all their worth as far as money goes. Yes, Eli, I did forget the banner up. Thank you. I don't know what happened there. So Tim Robinson, like they're neighbors. Paul Rudd invites him over for a beer one night. They get to know each other. Tim Robinson gets infatuated with Paul Rudd. Like we're talking like full blown like montages of like, oh, this is like basically Dragon. It's like the married life montage, but with friendship, right? Like where Tim Robinson just imagines like the lifelong friendship that these two are gonna have. Tim Robinson makes an ass out of himself in front of Paul Rudd's like friend group. Paul Rudd essentially breaks up the friendship. And then the movie, honestly, the trailers promised that the movie was going to get dark and twisted from there. And really, from my perspective, it just kind of becomes sort of a lesser Cable Guy. I like the first half of this movie a lot more than I like the second half. There's an element to this movie where Tim Robinson's wife goes missing, and it takes up a very good amount of screen time. You know what it kind of reminds me of? It kind of reminds me of Dream Scenario, where like the first half of Dream Scenario is all about the actual premise of the movie. But then like by the end of the movie, it's like, oh, it was about the relationship with the wife the whole time. That's kind of what it reminded me of as far as like, okay, we're spending a lot of time on the wife. We're not spending a lot of time on the friendship. And there's also this element of like, okay, Paul Rudd, his character is sort of like drifting in and out of Tim Robinson's life still. It's not exactly like a clean cut, like the drug trip scene was good, Colby. Dragon, the drug trip scene, let's just say it's one of the most fucking like utterly hopelessly mundane pieces of product placement you will ever see in a movie, but it's hilarious just for the context of that being the drug trip. Oh God. But yes, Colby, that is one of the best scenes in the second half for sure. I think the movie ends strongly, although with the surfer, I will say the surfer has an ending that's cathartic. I can just say it's cathartic. That's the best way I can put it. This has a good ending as well. It very much kind of ends in a similar kind of tone of the Cable Guy, where it's sort of like, oh boy, like here we go again, all over again, that sort of thing. I like this movie a lot, but I will say I think the biggest value this movie has is turning me on to Tim Robinson and I Think You Should Leave, which we'll get to when we talk about TV stuff. Because essentially now that I have watched all of I Think You Should Leave, I think the criticism of this essentially just being a an extended I Think You Should Leave sketch, that's fair. That's valid. All right. Next up, Dragon.
The Legend of Kingdom Come.
Boy.
Okay, so this is a documentary from Kickstarter. So this was so it finally came in the mail. Essentially, so this is a documentary that I believe Alex Ross is one of his essentially his friend, his art rep, the guy who, like, basically helps him sell all the paintings, and I believe also like one of his models. Like, he was the model for Shazam.
Mm-hmm.
He forget Marvel. He basically they did this documentary in honor of, like, I don't know if they reached an exact milestone because it's been in development for a while, but for the Kingdom Come graphic novel, which of course is revolutionary for the day. This came out in '96, so it's been over 20 years, like probably 25 years or so. And it's basically this documentary about kind of celebrating Kingdom Come and the work of Alex Ross. Of course, Alex Ross, you know Alex Ross's work, right?
Of course, yeah.
Good. And that's it for the kids out there. If you ever seen Spider-Man 2, the opening credits,
yeah,
Alex
obviously.
Ross. So I've always been a huge. I think Alex Ross is one of those. Honestly, I think Alex Ross is kind of underrated to a degree because I think in the tomes of I think the general audience, like, they've seen Alex Ross's work, they don't know the name, and I think the man is just he's phenomenal. He's one of the top artists that no one talks about. He's this documentary is it's very economic. It's like an hour and 20 minutes. It's maybe economical to its detriment in that I really like it, but it's no Mike Mignola drawing monsters. You know how I raved about that one, right? Which, by the way, still on Amazon if you want to watch it, Tiki.
I should.
So especially with that Frankenstein movie coming out.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that the content is very good. I did not have a bad time watching. I really like this documentary, but we have like a whole bunch of interviews. A lot of the people I've actually met in person, and this was kind of one of the reasons I wanted to make sure I owned this thing. So I mean, there's so Paul Dini is in. Sadly, not the one of the people I've met. Otherwise, I'd be a lot happier. Mm-hmm. So we had Paul Dini, very insightful. We have Mark Waid, who I have met, and Amanda Connor, Jimmy Palmiotti, a lot of those guys, a lot of great comic talent, and they're basically kind of like kind of talking about the importance and the impact of Kingdom Come. This is all great. One problem. So on the DVD, on the Blu-ray, they have a bunch of features, and the features include like all the extended uncut interviews. And I feel there was a mistake in the edit because the one thing this documentary is kind of lacking at the end of the day is I don't think there's enough discussion about Kingdom Come itself. It's more so a documentary about Alex Ross and how great he is as a painter and as an artist, which I think is great, and that's important to have in there, but I don't know. It just feels like a lot of the supplemental, like, extended interviews really, like, for example, I don't think we truly recap the story of Kingdom Come, like what exactly happens in the book. And I think that's a problem when you're doing a documentary. We don't refresh the people for people who haven't read Kingdom Come, what it's about.
Sure.
So that's the one issue that I got. It's a big issue. That's the issue that I got. But again, it's in the supplemental. It's there. I just wish we kind of re-edited it a little bit into the movie. So I think there's a bit of an edit issue. But aside from that, it's good. I don't know when people are going to be able to really widely watch it. At some point, it'll probably end up on Amazon, like usually. Like the whole Mike Mignola thing ended up there. So who knows? But it is. Again, it was satisfying. It was a good watch. And again, everything's there, just maybe not in the final product. But it was. It's a fun tribute to Alex Ross.
Okay. All right. So I'm just gonna power through these last three. Final Destination Bloodlines. Dragon, believe it or not, I have never seen a Final Destination.
You know.
Colby says, have you all seen the new Marvel? I hear it's nuts. Actual line from Friendship, Dragon. There's a scene in Friendship where it's literally just Tim Robinson getting very offended at possible spoilers for Marvel movies, which is great. Okay, anyways. So yeah, I have never seen a Final Destination movie, which honestly, you're sarcastic about that, but like I'm actually genuinely surprised because like I am sort of a horror guy, you know what I mean? So like I feel like I feel like I should have seen these movies by now. But in that regard, I definitely feel like this one feels like the Saw X of this year. If you remember Dragon Saw X, I had only ever seen the first Saw movie before going into Saw X, and I really, really enjoyed Saw X. And I really, really enjoy Final Destination Bloodlines. I think it's cool that this is a franchise just by the very nature of like literally the whole cast dies every time. You don't really need to know the characters. You know the basic premise, you know the setup, and you just have fun with it. I honestly think this is the way that a legacy sequel should be handled. You've got Toby Todd coming back in his final performance, which is very touching, by the way. Especially if you look into like the behind the scenes of what this movie meant to Toby Todd, like it's very much
Tony Todd.
I'm sorry. That's my bad. It's very much him like reflecting on death in his performance. You know, it's very touching. It's very meta, his performance here. But other than his presence, and I know he's in the other movies, I don't exactly know like what his role. I kind of get the sense that he's basically just like, you know, like Mr. Exposition. So it's fine. I think his role is definitely very. It's cool to see him in a role so so late in his life where he was probably very self-aware of the fact that his death was pretty imminent. I don't know, man. I frankly, I just think this movie was just a lot of fun with the kills. The opening scene with the Space Needle, like the Sky Tower, there's some editing in that sequence that just kind of blew my mind. I mean, really, it's a hell of a sequence. It's a great way to start. It really kind of took my breath away. I think the movie toes a really good line of having characters that are just likable enough that you actually like want to spend time with them, but disposable enough that it's actually fun to see them die. And that's not an easy feat to pull off there. So I feel like that was kind of a little bit of a balancing act. So yeah, overall, I would give Final Destination Bloodlines like a solid 8 out of 10. It was a surprisingly like really, really fun time at the movies. Okay, Clown in the Cornfield. This was pretty disposable. I mean, I liked this okay for what it is, but essentially, Dragon, it's basically just it felt so similar to Eli Roth's Thanksgiving, where it's like you got the town that's got the festival, and there's a nefarious murderer based on the iconography of the festival, and the town's trying to cover it up. There's this whole kind of social media element where the murderer is kind of like well known. There's not really a lot to latch onto here. The two things I did latch onto that I did find myself genuinely enjoying. Number one, Kevin Durand comes in as the villain, and he's genuinely kind of chilling. Like he adds an air of menace to this movie that is not seen anywhere else, and I really like his performance here. And also, there's a kind of a surprise gay relationship that kind of unfolds and gets revealed about midway through the movie, which I honestly thought was super refreshing. And it was a very nice, it very much gave me like Paranorman vibes, like that kind of like representation. So I applauded that. I thought the rest of the characters in the cast were super disposable, but I stand those two. I thought those two were handled very well as characters. Other than that, this is honestly probably going to be one of the more forgettable movies that I've seen this year. Nothing wrong with it, but pretty disposable at the same time. All right. And finally, we have Bring Her Back. This is the follow-up film from the filmmakers behind Talk to Me. And while I can say I don't think this is as strong of a film as Talk to Me, I think just as far as just being shocking and disturbing, this goes even harder than Talk to Me. I just think Talk to Me has better editing, a more cohesive story, and a way better ending. But with this Dragon, the one that I mean, you will not don't see this movie, Dragon. All right, because this movie is not for you. There, Dragon. There is some stuff that happens with body parts in this movie that I literally think would kill you if you saw it. All right, like I literally think it would send you into cardiac arrest. That being said, holy shit, Sally Hawkins is phenomenal in this movie, Dragon. She really is. I mean, she plays such a compelling villain in this thing. I think that she is up there with the likes of Toni Collette in Hereditary. Like, she is that level of just utterly captivating. I was glued to the screen watching her. So, Toni Collette, I mean, just absolute top marks, 10 out of 10. I really like elements of this movie. One element of the movie that I really didn't like is that the main kid character in this movie is she's not blind, but she's like either nearsighted or farsighted, the type of sight where you can essentially only see shapes and colors. And the cinematography leans into that way too hard to the point where it was distracting. I feel like the cinematography where they would blur stuff out, it was almost kind of just like, oh, we're going to have this be a gimmick to get into the mind of the main character. But they used it too much to the point where at a certain point, it was just kind of stylistically starting to give me a headache. So if I had one like major issue with the movie, it was just that presentation choice. But I mean, there's definitely some really, really visceral scares in this movie, a lot of them involving the self-mutilation of a troubled child, which, Dragon, I mean, this movie got under my skin in the same way the Peekaboo episode of Breaking Bad gets under my skin, right? As far as like, a vulnerable child in danger, that sort of scenario. There's also like Sally Hawkins, man, she gaslights the fuck out of the older brother in this movie, essentially because she wants the younger sister all to herself to basically like turn into this vessel to bring her daughter back, as her dead daughter back, as the title implies. And the way she goes about gaslighting the brother is chilling. I mean, it's honestly like it's definitely not as viscerally disturbing as the actual violent elements of this movie, but it's deeply disturbing in its own right, especially as someone who did go through a loved one being gaslit. So yeah, overall, very, very strong movie. I don't think it's as good as Talk to Me, but I still very much. I feel like so far these two kind of have a similar trajectory to Jordan Peele, where both of their movies so far have been really, really great, and I can't wait to see what's next. I think Jordan Peele came out with his masterpiece on his third movie, so I'm very much looking forward to seeing what the Filippo, I think is how you pronounce them, what the Filippo brothers do next. Again, not a movie for everyone. If you're squeamish at all with horror movies, I would not recommend it. I am not squeamish with horror movies, and I still had a hard time with it. But goddamn, I mean, I'd be lying if I said it wasn't totally effective at what it was trying to do and how it was trying to disturb you. All right. Next up, let's go to TV. Okay, so yeah, sorry. Okay, so we have Pee Wee as himself. Dragon, why don't you start it out?
Documentary of the year so far. Very thorough. I think the standout element of this is that only it's like there's only 40 hours of interview with Paul Rubens, and it's very much a point of it is made in the movie. Essentially, it's it's a tell-all, but subject knows, and you can kind of see it on him that he kind of knows his time's running out, and it's just like this great just kind of like a shadow that's kind of cast over the documentary. That he has trouble trusting people for obvious reasons, and he's being funny and light about it, but there's still that element of he doesn't want to relinquish control for understandable reasons, and he wants to go out on his own terms.
Hmm.
So it's just a nice love letter to Paul Rubens, and it gives him an opportunity for closure after the press crucified him for so many years. He just got a raw deal, and it's very emotional in places, especially at the end. This was as perfect as it could get.
Yeah, the way I would describe it is it's kind of like an odyssey of a documentary. Like this, and I think the best praise I have for this thing is that honestly, out of all the two-part like TV documentaries that HBO has done, I think this one justifies the whole like splitting it into two more than most of the other ones that we've seen of this style. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, very very strong strong documentary. All right. Next up we have Andor season 2. Dragon, like I said, it's like I very much intend to getting to this, and by all intents and purposes, I've heard that it gets fantastic. But man, I the first episode I'm struggling with. I'm struggling to get into it. I haven't finished it.
So the first season I was always kind of split on, to a degree, in which obviously the end there were basically high highs, but there were also subplots that kind of dragged.
Mhm.
Season two, I think, has the benefit of one. From the get go was always kind of a 2 season show, so it's kind of the Loki thing where Loki kind of knew it was going for 2 seasons and it had a built-in ending, and we kind of have that here. The ending, of course, is Red One. It's a lead into Red One. That much we do know. That much I can tell you because it's like the prequel for it's like the Better Call Saul principle. It's gonna the road ends at Breaking Bad, and then of course the connecting point, but essentially Breaking Bad. So it's this was impressive. I think it improved upon season one for the most part, but I think some of the issues are still there. So anything you loved, everything you loved about Andor is definitely still there, as well as some of the drawbacks, which it sounds like you're kind of feeling my side of the drawbacks on episode one.
A little bit, yeah.
We're like, I don't care about Mon Mothma's kid's wedding. I don't care about that. Now, I will say this: Mon Mothma gets a lot better this time around because, again, her story is approaching an interesting ending, which again we're kind of building towards. Thankfully, here instead of like spinning our wheels for a whole season, of like,
Right,
okay,
right.
she's kind of caught it. She's kind of caught up in it. She's got a miserable life and a miserable marriage. Diego Luna still great, compelling lead as always. Some of our side characters. I think Cyril really impressed this season. It's not that Cyril didn't impress in the first season. It's just that he had a really interesting jumping off point, but then he just kind of languished after a while. Again, the idea of addressing bureaucracy in Star Wars through one guy, through an average Joe, who then kind of becomes a villain. Like that's interesting to me, but just again, it's really dragged. Andor had a number of really great ideas and a number of really good payoffs in season one, but again, it's just like getting there was arduous. Like 12 episodes was a lot.
Sure, sure.
But again, you get like the prison arc. Prison arc, pitch perfect. Not a thing wrong with it. Excellent. So here again, it's like so Cyril here, like always, just that cool concept of he very much is a linchpin of he really flourishes this season. It's very much kind of like Pete Campbell a la Mad Men here, where he's a company man this season, and he's moving up the ranks, and we have a glorious payoff to his story. I mean, I don't like how we get to that moment, but when we get to that moment, it's flawless. It's like I'm thinking, oh man, we finally cracked the code on Cyril. No more stalling, and then there's a stall point. But then after that stall point, we nail it. So, like I said, same problems, just more satisfying and more frequent payoffs than we have with Andor. Andor, essentially, it's like one big payoff after a lot of spinning the wheels. For example, we get K2SO this season. I think one of the best things was the whole Save Mon Mothma storyline that we had, which was really good. I will say boo to no Jimmy Schmitz.
Right, right, yeah.
That was, I mean, look, I like Benjamin Bratt as much as the next guy, but hey, it's like, really? He's going to be in everything else. He will, but we couldn't get him here.
Right.
Anyway, Krennic, I will say this, like J.C. Reifenberg from Fat Man Beyond, the guy who runs the Scum and Villainy Cantina bar. He had a really good observation that I can't help but note here is that we kind of recontextualize our characters through Andor, which basically in the grand scheme of between Andor to Rogue One to A New Hope, we have this great build of like the Empire. Everyone progressively gets worse, and that in terms of we define them, we kind of add humanity to them. We have like kind of like a corporate level of sadness to them, is which every person we're introduced to, they think they're the big dog, and then we go to the other person who's the even bigger dog.
Mhm.
They and then like a Krennic, of course. Essentially, Krennic in this season, he's like the Darth Vader of all of our Imperials. And then, of course, we get the Rogue One, and he's emasculated by Darth Vader. And it's kind of interesting.
All right.
All right.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So it was good. It was good. I think I enjoyed it maybe more than the first season, but again, there was like Bix outstayed her welcome for me. Bix was like, okay, there you go.
She was like kind of one of the lesser parts of season 1 for me too. I feel like, don't get me wrong, like what happens to her, that torture scene in season 1,
Yeah.
very effective, but it's like I don't really think they did that great of a job establishing her before that, and it kind of sounds like they kind of continue to underutilize her.
There's a moment that no one's really thrilled about in this season with Bix, where it's like okay, we just keep giving Bix shock factor moments, like torture, and then something bad
Right,
happens
right,
to her.
right.
It's like,
Yeah,
okay, this is Bix is just kind of like on the sidelines because we have no room for her in the story
right. That's unfortunate.
because we can't take her along on the missions. So what do we do with her? Well, she's kind of like around, like not. She's kind of around Yavin, kind of not.
Mhm.
All right.
Okay. All right, let's see. Next up, we got the Rehearsal season 2. This was bonkers, Dragon. I like this a lot more than the first season. The first season was all about Nathan Fielder kind of helping a woman about to have her first child, like literally like rehearse through the entire stages of like raising a kid from from infanthood to being a toddler to a little kid to to a rebellious teenager. I think the first season was interesting, but this one gets started with a much more like universally relatable premise, which is the idea that like airline pilots and co-pilots have this really awkward kind of like tension with each other where the co-pilot does not want to speak up if he notices that the pilot is messing up, right? Can you go along with that so far?
Yeah.
So essentially, what Nathan Fielder is trying to do in this season is open that line of communication between pilot and co-pilot, and that he'll believe would like result in less plane crashes. And the way that he goes about that very simple premise, that very relatable premise, is absolutely fucking insane. Um, I mean, Dragon, he literally starts like a whole talent competition, and you can look this up. Like this is in the news. Like he fooled like a whole like people legitimately thought it was real. Like for a lot of people who participated in this talent competition, like it was real. But the only reason it was there was to basically train pilots on the act of saying no to people, so that when an awkward situation had to come up, they could actually bring it up. I'm not really explaining it all that well. There's this one episode where Nathan Fielder literally goes through like he lives out the entire life of Sully Dragon.
Huh.
And it's bonkers. It's fucking insane. Um where the season really hits home for me personally is by the end of the season, there's this whole thing where Nathan Fielder has actually gotten his pilot's license. And so he wants to try out this theory that he has of essentially his theory is that if you act a role as pilot and co-pilot and you act the role of like, okay, like I'm not myself, I'm Captain I don't know, Dragon. It's hard. Honestly, the premise is kind of hard to explain. I'm not gonna lie. But he has this thesis that he wants to try out, and he gets his whole pilot's license. Like literally in the last episode, we see like, oh damn, like throughout the past 2 years in between seasons 1 and 2, Nathan Fielder did indeed go through all the steps to get his pilot license. But then he exploits this loophole where even though he has his license, he does not have the experience required to fly a plane full of passengers. But the loophole is that he can fly a plane that's full of actors. And so, Dragon, literally the end of the show is Nathan Fielder flying a commercial aircraft. And this is the first time he's flown anything other than like a dinky little like training plane. And he's testing out this theory. It's bananas. It's bonkers. It's truly like some crazy stuff. There's also a component to it where he touches on the fact that the rehearsal was a big hit with the autism community. It kind of shed a big light on the autism community. He didn't really intend for that. It's just kind of like, like it did kind of get into concepts of like how people mask and stuff like that. And he is kind of like wondering himself why, if he is autistic himself. And honestly, frankly, I'm kind of surprised that the man isn't already diagnosed with autism because frankly, like, I really like the guy, and obviously no shade on this, but he is very autistic from what I've seen of him. Like it's kind of hard to believe that he wouldn't have thought about that before this. But we exposed this really big kind of like heinous thing in the realm of airline pilots, where Dragon, they are legally not allowed to disclose if they have mental health issues, or else they will be fired for any sort of mental health issue, just for the sake of, of safety. And we're talking like they will go to lengths of like airline pilots are pretty much legally required to not have therapists, like that kind of shit. And I don't know, man. There's just something about like what Nathan Fielder does this season that I think is like truly audacious and really special. I think the autism stuff is very moving. How Nathan Fielder is kind of coming to terms with the fact that he very well could have autism himself, and what that means for him, what that means for his work. The finale's crazy. I think you'd really like the Sully episode. Yeah, for me, I definitely think this is a step up from season 1, and I like season 1. So, all right. Kogia says, this guy is insane, and I love him. And the wings of voice thing all leads to the ultimate punchline. Okay, Tiki, do you agree that season 1, in terms of being a big mindfuck, that season 1 is better in terms of being a big mindfuck and having an interesting ethical question in terms of comedy ambition? The season just way better. Yeah, I definitely think honestly, Richard's Victims, the Sully episode, I feel like kind of like has all the big mindfuck stuff. I just think overall it's better. I think there are mindfuck moments to be had in this season for sure. So yeah, I think just overall across the board, this is just a better season than season 1. All right, what's next for you, Dragon?
Let's see. So I had a bit of a Star Wars theme this month, for May the 4th and everything. So Light and Magic season 2.
Yeah, I need to get around to this.
Yes, you do. It's only 3 episodes. You really should, Tiki. This is a pleasant surprise. One, it was just a pleasant surprise to find out, like, hey, they're doing a season 2 of Light and Magic. I was like, it was such a smile on my face. I had the delay for our Memoirs purposes, of course. But, it was, well, I didn't have to. I've been delayed for May the 4th. I wanted to watch something kind of nice like this for like May the 4th. And I really enjoyed it. It was, there was a good reason for it being 2 seasons, ultimately, with how they approached it. I really liked this. So, the narrative being a 2-part story, like season 1, Lawrence Kasdan was the man doing the interviews and putting things together. Of course, the man who brought us...
Man with the plan, Lawrence Kasdan.
Yep. The Kaz. Anyway, so Lawrence Kasdan, of course, the man who brought us, brought us Empire, the script for Empire Strikes Back.
Mm-hmm.
amongst many other things, many other Lucas, collaborations, like I believe the Indiana Jones films and such. But anyway, point being, so Kazdan did season 1. Season 2 was done by Joe Johnston, and of course, the man who brought us, the man who worked on the original Star Wars, a lot of stuff with ILM, and directed Captain America: The First Avenger, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and designed the Iron Giant.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I love me some Joe Johnson, and very much like they're actually acknowledging him during the interviews. So this feels very much like Joe Johnson directed. It's intimate, it's personal. And the reason Joe Johnson's, I think, has to be involved. I think what really comes about with season 2 is that it's like this is the old guard of ILM dealing with the changes in the medium, where basically the albatross around the neck of these 3 episodes is that ILM is becoming increasingly more digital effects heavy, and like the medium is moving forward, which essentially is where season 1 kind of left off. The idea of was the advent of where we're going, like Cameron doing the Abyss, that kind of stuff, like visual effects. Like the season 1 of ILM is pretty much like the foundation, how we made the Star Wars movies, and how it's like it grew beyond George Lucas. That's what season 1 is. And
Sure.
Jurassic Park essentially was like the dawn of CG for them. And this is going like beyond where we go there. And the through line here is the prequels, the Star Wars prequels, which we tell really well from the effects perspective, and also via Ahmed Best. Ahmed Best is interviewed, and
Oh, really? Nice.
yes,
Nice.
you got to watch this for Ahmed Best because
Yeah,
this is
no, I
really
know.
good.
I know I need to. I know I need to. It's definitely on my list for
because
sure.
he tells the story, Tiki.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
That story he tells.
Sure, sure.
You know what I'm talking
I
about,
know what you're
right?
talking about. Yeah.
He tells the story, and it's gobsmackingly intimate.
Oh, man.
So yeah, we cover Phantom Menace and how the reaction there. Rick McCallum, who we've always seen mocked in the Plinkett stuff. So McCallum's
Aiden
there.
just has such striking eyes. You just look into his eyes,
So that's the thing. The way they cover McCallum here is that everyone we actually sit down with Rick McCallum, but the way they talk about him is he's basically like he's a mobster.
Yes, that's accurate.
He's like a production mobster. Anyway, so it's very much the through line is like they're closing up the practical effects side of ILM, and it's kind of a sad, bittersweet kind of thing that's kind of is the through line between the 3 episodes, and it's basically the reason they're doing season 2. So this, to me, it seems like a definitive ending. Technically, they could do more, but it really feels like this is a good closing of the book. They did an excellent job with this. I mean, initially I was a little worried, like, oh man, 3 episodes, that's that's half of what we had last time, but. I don't know. I think we pretty much cover it. So again, it's worth a watch.
All right. Okay. I think you should. That's right. Right. Yeah. I think you should leave seasons 1 through 3.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep this brief, Dragon. This is honestly one of my all-time favorite sketch comedy shows. The premise here is so simple. It's just all about like people pushing social interactions to an uncomfortable level. It's all about just just uncomfortable situations, like moments that very much lead people to say the title of the show, I think you should leave. The editing of the show is fantastic. Like, honestly, the moments in which they choose to cut between the different sketches, like that, the comic timing just there in its own right is just chef's kiss. Honestly, Tim Robinson, I really do think his delivery and his style is kind of like, it's kind of becoming an influence in my own style a little bit. I love how he does the kind of like every man having a freak out over nonsensical bullshit type of humor. Yeah, I don't have a lot to add here. There's definitely, it's filled with cameos. Bob Odenkirk makes a very memorable cameo for one, just to name one of many. Yeah, it's just overall and it's super bingeable, Dragon. It's super bingeable because each season is 6 episodes. Each episode is under 20 minutes. So you can literally watch the whole thing in one night, just bang it all out. So yeah, I had a ton of fun with it. Not really a lot more to say beyond just what the basic premise is. Go check it out and laugh your ass off. It's wonderful comedy. All right. Next up, we've got I'll just let you kind of take the lead on the next 3.
All right, Star Wars, Tales of the Underworld. Yes, I love the Tales series that Star Wars is doing. These are basically, these are the kind of the short, kind of like we talked about this before. Tales of the Jedi, and I think I forget if they're just like just yeah, I think it's Tales of the Jedi, Tales of the Empire, and this one's the third season, Tales of the Underworld. And I've been loving these because they're short. They're to the point. They're basically like they do two stories per season. They're essentially split up like three different eras of the character in question through their life. Like we had like in Tales of the Jedi, we had Ahsoka, like like the baby Ahsoka to like like Ahsoka post Clone Wars and mid Clone Wars, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
3 points in the specific Jedi's lives. So this is we had Count Dooku, which was very interesting in that Tales of the I think it was Tales of the Jedi. So again, these are like continuations of Clone Wars. I love the theme of season 3 being basically the criminal underworld of Star Wars through two characters, two very good characters, two very much standouts from Clone Wars who really got developed through the course of that show. One is Ventress, so Asajj Ventress, who essentially she started off as like an evil Sith apprentice, and by the end she kind of broke away from that. Now, not quite a hero, but definitely she's very much an anti-hero. So
Hmm.
she had a redemption arc, and here her story here over the course of like 3 episodes, essentially she's kind of like Obi-Wan Kenobi in kind of the Obi-Wan show, where she's kind of ex-Sith and she's in hiding. It's kind of in that 3.5 era Star Wars, kind of like the Bad Batch, did a lot of really good stuff in. She's protecting a surviving Jedi. That's a really good premise for a Star Wars story. She's like this ex-Sith who definitely she doesn't want to have to protect this kid, but she feels kind of obligated to. And it's not a warm
Like a
and fuzzy.
surviving Order 66 child.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, he's like kind of like a somewhat of a teen, but so he's not a young because all the younglings died. So he's a little
Right,
older than
right,
that.
right.
It's kind of like Kalen. He's very much like
Okay, okay.
he's very much if he's not him, but he's like one of his peers
Sure, sure.
essentially. But yeah, so that was great. Here's the standard. Here's the reason you gotta watch it. Cad Bane. He is our other one. And Cad Bane's like the coolest character from Clone Wars, and he's voiced by Corey Burton. It's the idea like Clint Eastwood in Star Wars, like full on. It's like Peter Lorre mixed with Clint Eastwood, but he's a blue alien in space. So this was like his origin story in 3 parts at 3 different points in his life, and they're all fantastic. Oh my god. It's like a Western, it's like a space Western in 3 different eras.
Nice.
Oh, it's so cool. It's like Chef's Kiss, man. It was so good. You gotta, yeah, I'm saying for the Cad Bane stuff. I mean, the 3rd part is like full on Western. The first part's like kind of like a story in kind of like the 40s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so right, so you don't have anything else, right?
No, I don't have any other TV. No.
Just want to make sure I'm not crazy. Okay, just to run through these, Duck Dodgers. So I had seen Duck Dodgers before, but so what happened was amidst all the Looney Tune brouhaha, I panicked and I bought Duck Dodgers on Blu-ray just to make sure I have it.
I mean, that's smart.
I mean, it's not on Max anyways, but basically it kind of sold out for a bit, so I got really worried. So eventually I got it just the moment I could.
Mm-hmm.
So it's I got Duck Dodgers on Blu-ray because if I wanted it on DVD, I had to go back, and it was a whole thing where season 2 is a little hard to come by, so just made sure I got it all. In watching binging through it, I realized I had seen season 1 of Duck Dodgers, but not seasons 2 or 3, so it was quite a treat. Because I watched it on Toonami, or like kind of the Toonami era, back when it was just kind of.
Yeah, I definitely saw it when it was coming out. I know for a fact I
Yeah.
did see nearly all the episodes.
So apparently I saw all of season 1. So I remembered every single one of those season 1 episodes, but 2 and 3 was like completely. It was a joy, Tiki. It was such an enjoyable binge. It was like what?
Wait, man, that's just an appetizer for what you're about to get with Porky and Daffy.
I know. That's what I'm saying. This was kind of a warm up for that too. That was the other thing in the back of my mind, where it's Porky and Daffy.
Right, yeah. Farmer Jim Dragon, Farmer Jim.
I'm aware. I know the farmer's name.
At this point, Farmer Jim there's no way he's actually gonna live up to the hype at this point.
Anyway.
All right. Anyways.
But yeah, this was the best way I can describe this binge, Tiki. It's like watching Freakazoid for the first time.
Oh man, that's special.
Yeah, it was such a delight, man. Of course, the main reason I went with the main reason I did this, by the way, you're partially the blame because you reminded me of like Oh yeah, Dean, because we were talking Deanie a little bit. He's like, oh
Right,
yeah,
right,
Deanie
right.
worked
The
on.
fact that Dini had written a few of the episodes of this, yeah,
Then
yeah.
I double checked those facts. It's like not only did he just do a few episodes, Deanie was there pretty much on every episode, like pretty much every
Really?
episode.
Oh,
But
wow.
I'd say he pretty much wrote, if not the whole. I think he wrote the all of season one, most of three. There might have been a few episodes he didn't write, but essentially he wrote. He was there for almost all the episodes.
Uh-huh.
So he's one of a few writers, mind you. So it wasn't just Deanie; it was Deanie along with some of the greats. So so pretty much Deanie had a lot of involvement. It feels like Deanie's writing, and that was what was so delightful about it. There's like Samurai Jack parodies. I think the episode that completely caught me off guard. Season two, there's an episode where because he does the opening theme song, Tom Jones features in an episode of Dr. Ushers,
Mhm.
and it's basically Daffy and sorry, it's, basically Dodgers and Tom Jones. They swap voices, so you have the Dodgers singing like the Carlton song.
Mhm.
It's not unusual.
Mhm.
And then you have Tom Jones in Joe Alasky's voice singing singing the same song.
Oh,
It's
God.
ridiculous. Anyway, the Green Lantern episode. There's so many good ones. The only ones I didn't care for were the K9 episodes because they felt like Diet Coke Pluto.
Uh-huh.
I'll tell you one thing though. Okay, real quick. There is an Iron Giant parody that will make you laugh until you're in a coma. Just when the moment you realize, oh my god, they're parodying Iron Giant.
Nice, nice, nice.
Has an ending. Actually, has an ending. Believe it or not, an ending that's kind of a little similar to the Brave and the Bold ending, which I really did not see coming. And I appreciate it. And I will go on record of saying, look, obviously, all respect to Mel Blanc. He is obviously, without question, the Looney Tune of all the Looney Tunes. Clearly defined these definitively those characters. That said, though, if you're looking for if you're building your dream draft pick of who the best voice actors for the Looney Tunes are beyond Mel Blanc, I gotta tell you, man, Joe Alasky, he is like the definitive Daffy Duck.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Without
I
question.
could sign off on that,
I've
honestly.
always felt that way, and this
Yeah, yeah.
reaffirmed it. Like, yes, if there was any doubt.
I think Eric Bauza does a fantastic job as both Daffy and Porky in The Day the Earth Blew Up. But yeah, I mean, Joe Alasky definitely was a big standout for sure back in the day.
No disrespect to Eric Bauza, but I mean, come
course.
on, Bob. In this show, even
I mean, Eric Bauza is by all intents and purposes pretty much the modern day Mel Blanc.
No, for sure. Yeah, you gotta remember all of our Looney Tune voice actors. They pretty much are trained to do multiple Looney Tunes because of Mel Blanc.
Right. Yeah.
But that said, it's this thing where Bob Bergden, though, to me, because of this show, always he was always to me been the definitive Porky Pig. So much as I love Bowser, man, it's like, come on, that's your Porky Pig, though.
I don't know, but trust me, with Porky Pig especially, I think Eric Bauza really steals the show with Day the Earth Blew Up.
Yeah, we'll see. I think it's
really, really killer moments with Porky in that.
Well,
movie.
we'll find out sometime this month, I hope.
All right.
Okay. Anyways,
finally the studio.
Okay, the studio season 1 has been approved for a season 2. By the way,
Nice.
I love the show.
Yeah, I need to get on it. I know I need to get on it. I'm aware.
I thought it would just be fun, just like, okay, look who they got, and Apple's big draw has always been, look at the celebrities we paid off to be in our show.
Sure,
usually what
right.
Apple is. I was thinking it's gonna be kind of part of the course, like, okay, this will be kind of cute, Seth Rogen doing a thing. I like when Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg do their stuff, so this should be fun at least. But I didn't expect it to be this fantastic and pitch perfect, Tiki. It was like, oh my god, I was just gobsmacked by how good this was. I mean, like, every silly joke we've ever made about the behind the scenes of Hollywood, they made in this show. It's like, so Matt Remick, the character that Seth Rogen plays, he is great, and essentially he is a walking anxiety attack, and he's basically every social dread that you've ever had in a character. Pretty much, and maybe not every social dread. The point is, everything you've ever thought, Tiki, he's this character.
Oh God.
So it's basically he's like an executive who gets promoted to the head of Continental Studios by Bryan Cranston. Bryan Cranston plays like who by the way pretty much looks exactly like Stan Lee in this, which I find hilarious. He's basically he is the he's given him the keys of the kingdom. He's like he's this hilarious jaded movie mogul who basically gives him the keys of the kingdom in this promotion. He gets in. Remick gets in over his head because he cares about movies. He's a cinephile. He
Yeah, I
loves
like
movies.
that idea. I definitely like that core concept of like a cinephile having to navigate actually running a studio and making money. That definitely sounds like a compelling premise.
Tiki, the pilot, if nothing else, the pilot is like one of the best pilots I've seen in a while. It is just like it tells you it's perfect. If there was only one episode and you didn't get the rest of the episodes, I would have gone home happy with that pilot. You know, it's like
Mhm.
it sells you. It's just this. Like the guy wants to make the Oscar winners, and the artistically satisfying stuff, but it's about the creative struggle of having to make the box office cash grabs, and he doesn't want to do that, but he's in a position where, with the anxiety of that's foisted upon this poor guy's shoulders, he's circumnavigating these compromises. And it's like it's brilliantly done in every way, and pretty much each episode, I want to say all of them, pretty much each episode is done in a wonder, Tiki. It's like they go the full Birdman on it. It's incredible.
Nice.
Like I said, pilot fantastic, and Martin Scorsese. Okay, Martin Scorsese appears in the first episode, and he has this unforgettable role, and you will be laughing on the floor because
Oh my God.
it feels like the Martin Scorsese joke that they have in this pilot episode is like that. To me, that's the thing that we would joke about all the time, and it's like, oh my God, they nailed it so perfectly. This is the kind of stuff that we've joked about for years.
Yeah, that's the way you've always described this show, is just essentially like it's our in jokes in the form of a show.
Yeah, so I'm head over heels for this show. This is like the Hollywood call-out show that we need right now in so many ways. It's like what that franchise show like tried to do, but done right. It's one of the best. It's one of the best Seth Rogen things I've ever seen. Frankly, I think it's kind of Curb Your Enthusiasm. I'm gonna use a reference from the show to motivate you to watch it, so you can figure out what this means. Imagine Curb Your Enthusiasm partaking in a classic Hollywood buffet.
No, sure. Yeah. That honestly, like, it's a funny analogy, but it does make sense from what I know
Well,
about it.
take it.
Yeah.
I'm going to emphasize the word choice here because I'm misquoting it, but a classic, an old time Hollywood buffet.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I just want you to remember that because you're going to love what happens if
Little
you see
buffet. All right, got it.
like a classic Hollywood buffet, an old school Hollywood
Out of
buffet.
random curiosity, Dragon, because of the word choice you're using here, is the Brown Derby involved at all?
Well, I don't think we go to the Brown Derby. We go to like one of those restaurants,
Okay,
but it's not the
okay.
Brown Derby.
Oh,
Anyway,
okay.
but yeah, anyway.
Sorry about that. Jesus Christ! Literally a YouTube video on another tab started playing on its own out of nowhere.
Anyway,
Anyways,
so again, it's really impressive. Rogan, he directed, wrote, starred, and produced. He did everything in this, man. It was great. Okay.
all right. And next up, we've got our catch up. Dragon, are we on the same page with the Miyazaki stuff? Have we both? Is this both our first time seeing both?
No, I've seen those movies, man.
Okay, so it's not a mistake that I have 3 in a row then?
Yeah. Well, I only have 2 movies, so I had to space it out a little.
Okay,
You and I
just
have
making
already
sure.
seen. Collectively, we've both seen the Miyazaki stuff, so I figured we'd start there.
Just making sure. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of like very much speed round through the Miyazaki stuff. Castle in the Sky, I do like it a lot. You know, Mark Hamill plays a really good villain.
The only evil Miyazaki villain.
Which is fun, yes. Fun action, solid adventure. A little light on like I definitely think Castle in the Sky is almost kind of like the the blueprint for Miyazaki going forward, but it was also kind of like at this point we haven't perfected the formula yet. Howl's Moving Castle, on the other hand, is the way I would describe it is very much Miyazaki's blank check movie. And I still maintain that although the plot of this is a little bit messy, this might have the absolute best ensemble cast out of any Miyazaki movie. I love pretty much all the characters here. The world building is great. Again, I just wish the plot was a little less messy, but overall, it's still pretty fantastic. All right. Then we get into The Lost Highway, Dragon. And this is another movie that I saw at a movie night with the same guy that I saw Last month, our movie was In the Mouth of Madness. So, we're kind of going through some cult horror stuff in our movie nights. So, David Lynch was very appropriate here. And I don't know, man. For me, I've always been at a little bit of an arm's length with David Lynch. I've always kind of like respected him more than I've actively liked him and actively enjoyed his movies. And honestly, Lost Highway is kind of par for the course with that. I think it's ambitious for sure. I think it's interesting. Essentially, Dragon, this feels like a little bit of like a rough draft for what would ultimately be Mulholland Drive, in the sense that, much like Mulholland Drive, this movie kind of has like dueling narratives that may or may not be like a parallel universe. And I just think Mulholland Drive handles that premise better. I think Mulholland Drive is a lot more straightforward. Honestly, Dragon, I think the best David Lynch stuff is the stuff where we do get the weirdness, but the plot isn't totally inaccessible. And with something like The Lost Highway, I did feel like this plot was a little bit inaccessible, to the point where I watched this towards the beginning of the month, Dragon, and all I know is that there were definitely the dueling narratives. Robert Loggia.
Robert Loggia.
Do you know the Simpsons bit with Robert Loggia?
No.
The Simpsons bit with Robert Loggia is that Homer ate like a jellyfish sushi, and or I'm sorry, a blowfish sushi, and he digested the wrong part of the blowfish, so he thinks he's going to die. And he's got like 24 hours to live. On the last thing he does before he dies, and of course he doesn't actually die, obviously, he wakes up and he's fine. But he falls asleep listening to an audiobook of the Holy Bible narrated by none other than Robert Loggia. I'm Robert Loggia reading the Holy Bible. Anyways, that's very long-winded. I apologize. But Robert Loggia plays a really memorable mob boss type character. I don't know, man. Overall, this is mostly just kind of like weird David Lynch vibes. For me, the plot is like just a little bit nonsensical in a lot of ways. I enjoyed it enough. I thought it was a worthy movie night just because of how weird it is. And, it does kind of fit the theme of my friend and I that we have going for our movie night with the cult classic horror, sci-fi stuff. But I enjoyed In the Mouth of Madness from last month a lot more than I enjoyed this. This I was a little bit more at arm's length with. Okay, moving on. What do you got, Dragon?
All right, mystery movie time.
Yep.
Mickey 17.
I could have figured that you saw that, but go ahead.
Yeah, so I love the trailer for this. I told you I made no bones about that. Honestly, I still love the trailer for Mickey 17. I go back to it. I think it's great. It's one of my favorite songs. I think it's well put together, well edited. I'm sold on that, and Bong Joon-ho like directing it. So there's nothing in the world that's going to keep me away from eventually seeing Mickey 17. So I love
Bong.
Okay.
I'm sorry. That was
Joon-ho.
Oh no, we are not doing that. Juno. I'm sorry, Dragon, that doesn't work nearly as well as I know.
No, you're right. I know. I was looking at it just now. We were coming off of Miyazaki. It's kind of like, wait a minute.
Oh my god.
Anyway. So, I like this. It feels on the money for Bong Joon-ho with what he did with Snowpiercer. I didn't love it. Didn't love as much of the trailer, I'll tell you that much. But I appreciate what he was going for with this. I really do. I think it's okay. I love the idea of the character. The premise still, I think, is really good. It's the idea of a character who keeps dying, keeps getting reprinted, and like what kind of life does an expendable get to have? Like that's a great premise to me. I think it's a decent love story too. I like the whole Mickey Nasha thing, like the idea she's in love with all the Mickeys, and I think it's kind of interesting. The dynamic between Mickey 17 and 18, it's pretty good. Okay, so Ruffalo is kind of the drag on the movie in that here's the thing, because he's too broad, and I get the statement that I kind of get the
Yeah,
statement that Bong.
Ruffalo in this movie is the big low point for me, man. I mean,
So
I was really struggling with that performance.
here's the thing: I don't care for it, but by the same token, I get what Bong Joon Ho is trying to the statement that he's trying to make with what we're doing with Ruffalo. So let me be clear: it's like Ruffalo is he's taking direction of what he's supposed to do here. I think this is just him, kind of like he's being told to play. Don't play it like basically play it as broad as you can. That's basically the direction here. I don't think it was the right direction, but that's essentially what the direction is here. But it comes across that here's the thing. It's frustrating to me because how does no one question or call out the stupidity of this leader? And the moment I say that, I then realize, wait, even if yes, people are lemmings, it is still frustrating, and people in real life can be lemmings to this sort of guy. It's still frustrating, and it's still like it's happened. Sorry, it's even if it happens to be somewhat true or on point or somewhat accurate, it's still exaggerated. And it's still like the thing of like, I can't invest in. I've always had this thing with these kind of stories where in a dystopian setting or something kind of like in a kind of a cynical way of looking at it, where if humanity is seen in such a like a cynical or like kind of like negative like hopeless light, it makes me hard to believe like this world would be able to like kind of exist the way it does. Like this, he plays it like such a weird calorie counting despot. It just creates a problem of like only now like when he starts like torture the little bug, the little bug creature, does everyone start to see like, oh man, he's inhumane. Like, I think there were a lot of other cases before this to show that he was very inhumane, and we need to do something about this.
Mhm.
You see what I mean? It's like not so much that he took a broad swing, but in taking the broad swing that he did, it then creates a plot problem of like, how has no one called him on this stuff before? So that
Right,
to me
right.
is fundamentally what the issue with Ruffalo is. It's again like John. There's no accident that Bonji was like telling him to go broad. But anyway, I wasn't crazy. I really wasn't crazy about the fake out dream thing at the end. I thought that could have been cut entirely. I think we had a
Oh, that
decent
was
ending.
awful. Honestly,
Yeah, I
I mean,
think like
that's the thing with this movie. It's like I do really, really respect certain elements of it,
yeah.
but other ones just genuinely piss me off from a storytelling perspective.
It felt like a weird, again, it's a weird shock value twist, but then we just completely, okay, it's just a little daydream. It's like, why would it be daydreaming about?
Like, why are we doing this? Why, like, what is this? Like, why are we doing this at this
There's
point?
nothing thoughtful about this
Right,
little like
right.
like I don't know. It's just anyway. Again, aside from that, it's a good sci-fi movie. I thought overall, I think it's a decent sci-fi movie. But again, with some fine tuning, it could have been really good. It's okay. That's kind of where it is. It's okay with a great.
Did a contender.
Okay. It's
Right.
it's okay. It's okay, but it still has a fantastic trailer.
I feel you. I feel you. Okay, next up for me. Oh God, Dragon. This I remember when this was like your hate movie, Home. Did you ever get around to actually watching this one?
No.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
On some level, it's not as bad as I was expecting it to be. Like, here's the thing. Basically, everything that doesn't involve the Sheldon Cooper alien is fine. I think some of the real building that they do with the aliens, I do like the idea that the aliens essentially take over Earth and they segregate the humans to what is essentially like kind of like the Steven Universe Zoo, like that kind of idea. Like that idea in itself is an interesting premise, all right? Holy shit, Sheldon Cooper is Sheldon Cooper. And if you like Sheldon Cooper, then you're going to like this movie starring Sheldon Cooper. I mean, like Jim Parsons, he makes no effort whatsoever to be anything but that. And Rihanna, like, she's passable. I don't want to say she's doing like a terrible job, but at the same time, it's one of those things where it's like, why don't we just get a professional voice actress? Like
Yeah.
she's clearly not like the best choice for a role like this.
No.
So I don't know, man. I mean, this is a little bit of a nothing burger of a movie. I enjoyed the other DreamWorks movie that I watched this month a lot better than this, so I'll say that much to kind of prep for that. But yeah, all right. So Dragon, what did you see next? And I want you to sing the title.
Sing the title.
Yeah, like they sing it in the song.
Oh God. Paddington in Peru.
Paddington in Peru.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. So yes, of course. I love the first.
Okay,
two
hold on. I got to stop you really quick here. Eli, you're shaming me for it taking 10 years to get around to see Home when you haven't even seen Mary Poppins Returns. No, no. I will not take that sass from you, sir. I'm just kidding, but still. Anyways. Go ahead, Dragon. I'm sorry.
Anyway, yeah, so I love the first two Paddington movies. This movie does feel. I got excited when I saw like, hey, they're doing a new Paddington movie. That's great. Uh, it it feels like this is an end to a trilogy, and I kind of hope they leave it there. I don't know if they will. I kind of hope they do because I thought there was some nice finality here. The kids are growing up. It's a whole kind of empty nest thing, and the stakes of the movie is that Paddington might not be coming back.
Right.
Which I thought was a really good choice. I mean, a lot of good choices in this movie in terms of that. It felt like we're closing the loop. We're going back to Peru. It just, I love Hugh Bonneville in these movies, and he's still delivering, man. The whole spider thing too. Like, oh god, the spider thing.
I mean, the thing with the spiders is it's like I feel like compared to the plot lines that we have in the other two movies, it's a little bit disposable.
Oh yeah.
But it's definitely the most amusing part of this movie, for sure.
Sure, that's what I'm saying. Like this movie, like overall, I don't think it measures up to the first two movies. And I'm gonna blame the fact that we have no Sally Hawkins. I'm just gonna throw that out there. That still breaks my heart that we didn't. After all this time, we can't just wait like one more year to get Sally Hawkins. Really?
Yeah, she was busy just being super disturbing. So
Anyway. But yeah, so it really does break my heart that we couldn't get her in this. It's like, why not just wait a little just to get her in, especially if we're kind of closing the loop. It just feels really weird that we literally flash back to like the beginning scene, but we can't show her in full because we don't have Sally Hawkins. This feels dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, this is overall the movie here. It's a delightful romp. It's just not as on point as 1 and 2. It's not bad. It's just not on point as the first two were. It's not firing all cylinders.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's definitely not a bad movie at all. It's very enjoyable in certain parts.
It's cute. It's a nice, cute movie. It's really it. It's on brand. That's all. That's all I can really ask.
That's going to get Pedro Pascal to call it the best movie he's ever seen in his life.
No,
it's not that level.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, that's still like one of my favorite. Like, if any movie ever had like great product placement for another fucking movie, that is it.
That is
the gold standard.
Right? I mean, you have both Pedro Pascal, and Nick Cage as himself. Nick Cage as himself recommending your movie.
I love it.
So Ben Whishaw,
I honestly think the Paddington 2 stuff might be my absolute favorite part of that movie. I'm not gonna lie. It's just so authentically like what Nicolas Cage would actually talk about in his real life. It feels so realistic.
Oh yeah.
Anyways,
but yeah, so Ben Whishaw, he's a treat. There's a lot of fun with Antonio Banderas. I will admit, initially I thought it was a little broad, but I think it kind of grew on you as it went on. Where you saw like, okay, we're really committing to this bit. I love the post-credit scene. The post-credit scene was fantastic.
I did not see the post-credit scene.
You didn't see what?
I didn't even know the Paddington movies had post-credit scenes. I'm sorry.
Well, at least this one did. Do you want me to tell you what the post-credit scene?
Sure.
Okay, Hugh Grant character from the second movie, the bad guy from the second movie. He's
Uh,
in prison, and basically Paddington, all his fellow bears, they come visit
right,
him.
right,
And
right.
the idea is that he wants to put on like a Broadway show in the he's getting out of prison soon, so he wants to put on a Broadway show that's basically Goldilocks and the Three Bears with him and all of his bears.
Oh god.
It's delightful.
Nice, nice.
God, yes. Anyway, so there was a lot of fun.
Sounds like it. Sounds like it. Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, I know it was fun. Well,
Yeah.
no, post credit sounds like fun. Yes. My bad. My bad.
Okay.
Okay, Dragon. I actually did not get around to Nokobo. That is directed by the same guy who directed The Surfer. I very much intended to get around to it. Actually, my mom kind of pulled me in for a surprise day trip today, so that's why I did not get around to seeing that one. It should be on my list next month. But we will end on Trolls Band Together, which Dragon, I'm not gonna lie, to me, I totally acknowledge that the Troll movies, like, they are by no means top tier DreamWorks by any means, but they are like almost like the ultimate DreamWorks guilty pleasure movies for me. I unabashedly do enjoy them. I think the art style in these Troll movies is honestly just visually just it's candy. It's visual junk food, but in a really good, creative, eye-popping kind of way. I really do think that the musical numbers in the Troll movies, even though yes, it is jukebox musical, they go hard. They consistently go hard. I don't know, man. Honestly, I think the Trolls movies have gotten better and better. I thought the first one kind of got bogged down because I don't really like the Borgin subplot in that one. I feel like, like by the halfway mark, it's basically just like making the two Borgins fall in love, and that's not really that compelling. I think Trolls World Tour was great. The only thing with that movie is that it's essentially like, oh, so we're basically doing the Infinity Stones, but in the form of, musical notes. Still a really fun movie, still really fun villain in that movie. Trolls Band Together is essentially like, yes, it is very much just like we're going to do the NSYNC reunion, essentially. But I don't know, man. To me, there's something really charming about like, Justin Timberlake's character having these brothers. The Sorry, hold on. Let me. I want to look up the cast of the brothers because NSYNC kind of comes in towards the end. The brothers aren't in sync. Trolls Band Together. Sorry. Let's see. So we have. Oh yeah, we have David Diggs as one of the brothers, which is really cool. I believe Kid Cudi plays another one of the brothers, which is kind of
Oh,
unconventional.
we've talked about a movie with that guy.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Let's see. And Eric Andre plays the brother that's kind of like the domineering brother who kind of like broke up the band back in the day because he was being too controlling. And I think all these brothers have really, really solid chemistry. There's one setting that involves the trolls overtaking a human miniature golf course. That's honestly just really, really cool. I just from a visual point of view, I just kind of dug that. I think the villains are fine. I don't think they're as memorable as Barb was from the second movie, but I do think they're better than the Borgans. They're essentially just these pop stars who literally feed off of the music energy that the trolls radiate, and so they're kind of like, they keep the trolls in these glass jars, and they literally like suck the souls of the trolls to get their music talent. It sounds absurd. It is absurd, but they're fun. Andrew Rannells is one of the brother villain. Amy Schumer is the sister, and she's Amy Schumer. But Andrew Rannells is great. That is from Invincible Dragon, William from Invincible. So yeah, he's really good in this. But overall, like for me, just the funnest element of this movie was just simply the visual spectacle of it all. I really think by this third movie, the Troll series just has that kind of candy coated, handcrafted aesthetic just nailed down perfectly, and I had a really fun time with that element of it. Do I wish the movie was like a little bit more substantial? Honestly, not really, because I heard an analogy that about these Trolls movies that I think I really agree with. And it's that essentially these troll movies are the best possible outcome for movies that are specifically made and catered towards kids, right? Like, adults can watch them and have fun with them, like I did. But ultimately, at the end of the day, these are movies that are made and catered for children. And low key, Dragon, I think we should respect that a little bit more than we do. I really do, because I don't really think this is a babysitting movie per se. I think this is a bright, colorful movie with some decently good, like morals and family values and stuff thrown into the mix, some fun creativity. It's not going to be anywhere near the top of anyone's DreamWorks tier list or anything, but I had a really good time with it for what it was. So yeah, and that's my 2 cents on Trolls band together. Everyone's the most anticipated movie of the year. I don't know where I was going with that. Anyways, okay, Dragon. My God, this has been a whirlwind movie memoirs. Let's end things out with best and worst. What do you got?
All right, best Nonas.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Worst, I'm gonna say the true crime documentary. It's gonna be a Deadly American Marriage.
Ooh, all right. Okay, for me, best is easily The Surfer. Again, it's not a movie for everyone. It's a very A24 coded movie. It's got some really off-putting elements to it, but it just feels like the movie. It feels like a movie that was made for me, just in the sense of it being a bottle episode, and it's just quintessential Nick Cage. It is like one of the most quintessential Nick Cage movies that's come along in a while. Worst, I mean, I think I'm probably gonna have to go with Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. I'm sorry. For me, two pretty impressive action set pieces do not make up for the plot being a total mess. So that's rather unfortunate, but that's kind of where I am with it. All right, so I would like to thank Code Geass, Eli of Little Blue Productions, the incomparable Richard's Victims. Again, great to see you back, man. Great to see you back. And, of course, Keeper Colby. Thank you guys so much for watching. It's been a fun time. Yeah, all right. Well, folks, we've waxed on long enough, and it's time to put the pen down. Until next time, when we return for another fitting chapter in our movie memoirs. I'm the surfer. I'm the surfer. That's an actual line. No, it's not.